What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride glows worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ashley Soden for episode 246. I don't even want to say it now because it's been called a dad joke. Mulling it over. This is our Minnesota Vikings preview for week 18 of the NFL season. And Ash, we were just saying before we started the show, it feels like 2 weeks since the Kansas City Chiefs win week one, Thursday night football. And here we are, 1 week left, 4 days, and the regular season is over.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been simultaneously a long season, a long hold going for us, but at the same time, it's flown by. Maybe it's because we've actually been pretty damn good this year that it's just flown by. It's been good moment, good moment. Occasional bad moments, Seattle, Baltimore come to mind, but for the most part, it's been a great watch to watch, and it's just flown by. Let's hopefully it continues for more than just a week, because obviously we all know we're playing next week in the wild card. Can it continue to the divisional? Can it continue to the championship game? Can we go all the way to February? Well, only the fates know.
Oh my God, if we go through to February, that would just be so amazing. It's like we're not used to January football, let alone February football. But yeah, that is what we are here to discuss this evening. Matt, unfortunately, is still ill at the moment, so you're going to have to deal with me doing this for one more show at least. But we're going to have some fun doing it. So, like I said, me and Ash are going to take a look at the Vikings. Again, we played them 10 days ago, so maybe not as in-depth as we did the first one, because nothing has really changed since then. But we'll still give them a good going over, and we'll point some fun at that Green Bay Packers-Vikings game, because it was very funny. And then we're going to take a look around the NFL, because it is week 18, Ash, but there are a lot of intriguing storylines coming into this weekend. We have two three-ways for conference divisions still, both of the Souths, the NFC South, the AFC South. There's a lot on the line this weekend, some really big matchups as well. It's not just us, it's all over.
Yeah, well, exactly. Isn't this something like, I can't remember if it actually still going to happen, but the Bills have got a literal win or out situation. They have to win, otherwise they lose out to whoever wins out of Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Like the fact that this team that has the second best odds in the AFC to win the Super Bowl might not even make the playoffs. What is going on?
The fact they can win the AFC East and get the 2 seed, or not make the entire thing at all. But I've sort of gone through all this. So we've got all the playoff scenarios and stuff. So we're going to go through that for all the teams. We'll go through the fixtures, maybe make some predictions there as well, which is going to be good fun. There's big hello to everyone this evening. So Lisa Della Renzo's in the building. Brent is in the building as well. I will get onto Twitch in a moment, and I'll shout out all you guys in there as well. But let's just get all the housekeeping out of the way. Carlton Wood is in the building as well. Hope you are all doing well. Roar of the Lions UK Discord, if you want in, let us know. We will fire you across a link for that. College Football Pod with myself and Ryan, we did yesterday. The YouTube video is not up yet, but the audio is. We did our final review of bowl season. We did our final review of the college football playoffs, the semi-finals, and then we had a little look ahead to both championship games this weekend. And from next week onwards, it's all-star game season. So we're going to start looking at the rosters and the players, focusing more on the draft guys here. So the Hula Bowl is the weekend after this one. Then we're going to get into the East-West Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, the HBCU Legacy Bowl, all that good stuff. So if you want us to find out about players' positions, anything like that, just let us know and we'll get on that for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything. Twitch, YouTube, all that good stuff. Twitter, we appreciate you all who follow us. Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's pet project to bring the best in content creators together across YouTube in Lions Nation. It's great. We're on there. So many other good podcasters are on there as well. Don't forget to download that, check that out. We're a Twitch affiliate. We're monetized on YouTube. We have a tip jar. So if you want to help us that way, great. But we just love having you all in the building first and foremost. And don't forget, we've got a feedback form as well. So anything you want us to put in the show, any ideas, thoughts, whatever, we take on all form of creative suggestions. And don't forget, we've got the merch store going as well. Me rocking my hoodie as always. This has been my favorite buy of the entire winter because this thing is toasty while outside is absolutely freezing. Anywho, let us get on. We've got some news to go through today first before we have a little look at the Vikings fixture and all the NFL stuff. So it's that time of year, Ash, that wonderful time when the Pro Bowl is announced. And of course, there's no controversy when the Pro Bowl gets announced whatsoever. Ever since Matthew Stafford's 5,000-yard season not getting in, us Lions fans have had a very complicated history with this. But we did pretty well this year. 5 players selected to the first Pro Bowl team, and then we've got 7 alternates as well. So we'll talk about the 5 guys who made it first. Center Frank Ragnow, right tackle Penei Sewell, tight end Sam Lagota, edge Aiden Hutchinson, and on special teams, the Lions' first ever special teamer who wasn't a kicker, punter, punt returner, or kick returner, I believe was the thing there. Jalen Reeves Mabin. I mean, it's been a really great year for the Lions. Are you surprised they put 5 in? What do you think of the guys who've been picked?
I'm not surprised there's 5, but I am surprised that, honestly, as much as we love Hutch, I'm surprised he's made it. It basically shows that the players and coaches actually do know a bit, because you look at some of the rankings that came out a couple of days ago with the fan votes, he was a bit down, shows that he's there. Germ making it as well. Like, I didn't believe that would happen. Like, as much as I love Germ, we all know I love my special teams. I thought he was going under the radar. For him to sort of get in, great. But come on, like, I know we're going to come on to it in a second, but there's a big, massive snub, and I think a certain player of ours has got another list brewing in his head to motivate him.
He's got another list. He's got another list. Amon-Ra's going to have so many lists out there at this point in time. But, I mean, you look at it and you're like, I can get it. I get why the 4 guys in front of him are there. But as Ash mentioned, there was a snub for the first team, but we had 7 alternates. So Jared Goff, our beloved quarterback, was a second alternate. Jahmyr Gibbs was first alternate. David Montgomery was 4th alternate. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god himself, the first alternate. So God help the 4 who made it. Jonah Jackson, our god, was 3rd alternate. Alex Anzalone was 5th alternate. Kind of feel like it gets a bit disrespectful when you get that far out. And then Khalif Raymond as a punt returner was the 4th alternate as well. So obviously, definitely we'd be putting Amon-Ra in there. But anyone else who you kind of feel was snubbed a little bit, who should be a bit higher in the main team?
Honestly, no. Maybe if he's only really had 1 month. If anything, I hate saying this about our players, I wouldn't have had Jackson anywhere near the Pro Bowl at all. Like, he's a good guard. He's had a down year this year. I think he sort of rode a bit on reputation. I know he was made it as an alternate in the past year. He hasn't been that good this year. Like, it's good for him. He's probably going to get a small incentive in his contract for being named on this, but he shouldn't be there. I know the Pro Bowl is basically a name point thing this for everyone but the players in terms of contract value. Doesn't really fit. It's the Pro Bowl games. They're going to go and play some fancy games or in Orlando, throw a couple of balls around, do some funny things, play a bit of Madden. It's not really a big thing. The thing that's going to count is all pros. And honestly, when that comes out, if a certain right tackle is not named on there, you can expect us flying over there. The hatred we have for Brad Allen will suddenly extend to the AP voters as well, who snub if they snub Penei.
Oh, the people love when we get angry because us Brits are a very restrained people. We get miffed, we get annoyed, there's a lot of stuff there. We very rarely get angry, and when we do, the Americans almost sadistically love it. They're like, oh yeah, here they go. They're really going to get into it now. So, but yeah, all pros are what matters. Penei should be an all pro this year, and if he's not, we're going to have some issues. And maybe, depending on how the season finishes, we should have a couple more as well, but we'll see when we get to that point. Just shout out to the guys in Twitch because I'm in there now. Gomnus is in the building. Joshua Mercer is in the building. And Joshua, thanks to you, I am going to retire from this podcast soon because you said my pod title was a dad joke. I have terrific jokes. I have a lot of good jokes. And to be told that I'm now using dad jokes means my reign is over. I'm done. It's over. Thanks.
You're stooping to my level now.
Imagine if I
Welcome.
just dropped off the stream and was like, peace y'all, out, gone.
God, no. I can't carry this by myself. Jesus.
I know.
We'll lose subscribers.
Dan Pask is in the building as well. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you got anything you want to ask us during the evening, please do so. We can say we're not just be talking Lions, we will talk NFL as well. Let me get back into the news. Other bits. So a couple of players have left the team this week since we were last with you. Obviously, the big one, defensive tackle Isaiah Buggs, has been cut by the team. Played 27 games, 16 of which were starts over the last 2 years. I think it was just 3 starts this year, though. Finishes with a stat line, 58 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 3 passes defended, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Of course, he was given his new 2-year, $4.5 million contract last offseason, but the tensions between the team and the player have been rife all season, pretty much. He went through his spell where he was technically benched, inactive, came back, but it finally appears to have come to some sort of a head in week 18 of the season, which seems odd. But anywho, the move leaves the Lions with just a $500,000 charge against the cap in 2024, so it doesn't do much damage there. I don't know, Ash, what do you make of Buggs? Obviously, a lot's gone off between him and the team. Seemed like it had been repaired. It's not quite there. We're going into the playoffs. Maybe it's just a case of let's have a fresh start, get the guy in. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's that. Like, I respect the team for releasing him this early in the week. They could have just said, screw you, we're going to keep you until the last possible moment, then release you. We released him early, gave him a chance to maybe do a bit of shopping around, find the best possible fit for him, because you read his goodbye post. It's quite amicable, at least to the fans, but it's very much a goodbye, I'm not coming back kind of post. And it's a shame because I know this year has been the best for him. The constant updates on his Twitter drama with the mystic tweet trying to drum up controversy. But this is a guy last year who was fundamental to our turnaround on defense. He was the guy that called the players meeting on defense after the firing of Aubrey Pleasant that led to the turnaround. He earned that contract. It's just then we're in the off season, giving him full off season. He seemed a bit more focused on his businesses. Didn't turn up to camp in shape. It annoyed the team, so they rightfully sort of benched him. Said, "You've got to work for it. You're setting a bad example," and it didn't really happen. Like, we had to call him at points when there was need, but with Aleem potentially coming back, potentially other players, it was just an option where the team can no one justify it. So they've released him. He can go get somewhere else. And then hopefully with the open roster spot, we can get Aleem up or CJGJ, someone up like that who might have a bit of a bigger contribution coming to the playoffs.
Yeah, it just does seem a little odd. I think obviously the thing that's hard to reconcile at the minute is you've got 2 DTs who are sat on the bench most weeks. Obviously, Broderick is still developing. He's not really seeing much action at the minute. Levi has disappeared. He is on the inactive list most weeks. And then you're like, well, this is a guy who is coming in. He does play. I do believe Alualu played more snaps than him in the last game.
Did.
So maybe that's indicative that the guy who we just brought in is playing a bit more, but he's playing, and that's the thing. Maybe that means Levi's ready. Maybe it means Broderick's going to get some snaps. I'll be interested to see how the DT tandems work now he's gone, because if they've just decided some of these guys are ready now, we'll give them, this is perfect game for Broderick, really. Get him in, get him some snaps. Who knows?
I think it is Broderick, because I know obviously you mentioned Alualu. He was more of a lean replacement. He's on the smaller side for defense tackle, things like 295. He's more like the sort of free tech kind of DT. So it's Levi. For me, I think this might be, let's get Broderick into there now. Like, he sat on the bench, we've marinated him enough. It's now time to, like I did yesterday with my peri-peri chicken in my lovely new air fryer I got for my birthday. I've marinated it enough. Now it's time to whack it in the cooker and see how it actually tastes. Spoiler alert, it was actually really nice with my pasta today at work.
Spoiler alert, I got 2 air fryers for Christmas. I'm at that age now where everybody's getting air fryers. Air fryer is all the rage. So yeah, I'll have to try that. But peri-peri does sound good. Not gonna lie. Anywho, the other guy who was gone from the roster, Edge Bruce Irvin, he's also been released from the team. Saw time in 3 games. Obviously, we used all his practice squad elevations. And of course, will be remembered for the hit on Derek Carr, which took him out of the Saints game. So the fed up of him passing all over us. But with James Houston imminently returning and us again, like Julian's inactive, but he can be used. Probably going to see him this week. It kind of seems this was good for both teams. He came in when we were shorthanded, when we've sort of been had a few issues with guys, and they seem to have amicably gone ways. He wants to play more. Campbell obviously probably wants his young guys to come in and play. He did his job here. He seems to have been a good vet around. This may be more of an expected move.
Yeah, 100%. And I hope it is for Houston. No, obviously, he probably won't be fully back up to speed until at least next week because he's only just returned to practice in the last couple of days. He's been doing a lot of like sprints, but with the injury he had, which was, if I remember rightly from Dr. Jimmy Liao's podcast he does with DLP, an ankle sprain with a fibular fracture. He needs to do more of that lateral movement stuff. So until we see that, he gets through that. We don't know where he's at. But luckily, with Bruce going, as we'll get into in a minute, the team have already got a sort of like-for-like replacement on the practice squad. So if James is 100% fit and they don't trust Julian, they've got someone else who at least has been around the team for a bit coming back to perhaps give some help in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. This one made sense there, and we've got the guys to come in and replace him. And then we've had a few other little bits as well. I don't think this was announced before we did the show the other day, but Jason Kabinda is back on the practice squad. Obviously, our beloved fullback and friend of the show, as is, and this one has very recently just happened. Linebacker slash edge, outside linebacker guy Raymond Johnson II. He was with the Lions practice squad from late August to early December, cut early December, but a familiar face back on the roster. Again, probably a little bit of cover for those edge rooms like Irvin, just in case something goes wrong. A couple of little minor moves there that make sense, Ash.
100%. Yeah, it wasn't official before the podcast on Monday, but we all knew it was happening because Dan basically said, yeah, Kabinda's going to get on the field this week. So everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay, there's one of them. But yeah, as we mentioned, Raymond Johnson, preseason star for the Bengals, had like a 90 pass rushing grade across his 3 games for the Bengals in the preseason. Obviously, they cut him because their edge room was reasonably deep, Trey Hendrickson, and that. He comes to us, marinated on the practice squad. We released him, I think it was to bring in Schofield back with some O-line cover. With Irvin going now, he's in a sort of that backup blitz linebacker from the Sam position that we might be able to use against the Vikings and against whoever we face next week and the week after. Well, actually, to fair in playoffs, per Tommy P, a limited elevation. So if we want, we can just bring him up until we get knocked out. And then obviously you probably get a futures contract with us because that'll be the fun time.
Up and down like a yo-yo. Yeah, that's the way to do it. These are the guys you want to try and get in. Because, as I say, you can use them more, and there will be some who start appearing who you do want to use on there. So, yeah, get it completely. Other bit of news, I've seen you've just put it in there for me. Thank you. And Lester White mentioned it in our YouTube chat. He goes, did you see that Aaron Glenn was named Best DC by the NFLPA? That's the players. So, yes, it was a survey by the NFLPA, the players' representatives. It released their list of top 5 coordinators at each position. So obviously offensive, defensive, special teams, voted all for by the players. On offense, there was no Ben Johnson for the Lions, but Aaron Glenn ranked first amongst defensive coordinators, and he ranked first amongst coordinators flat out in the NFL to be best guy to work for. And then Dave Phipp, our special teams coach, came fourth. Now, if I'm right, this is not skill. This is guy to work for, isn't it? Not like overall skill. This is almost like, I'm going to say a popularity thing, but it's how good are they to work for? How'd you get on with them, etc. And Aaron Glenn has topped everybody.
Exactly, yeah. So like I've seen some people freaking out in some other like Discords I'm in, especially certain SOL Lions fans that I know from other servers who I only keep around just to keep to see how that side of the camp is doing. It's nothing to do with talent. It's nothing to do with scheme. It's just, as you say, how are they to work for, what they're like, which is somehow probably why the Panthers OC got top in those offensive coordinators, because by the looks of that offense, all they're doing is just sitting around playing Xbox all day and eating takeaways. So they must be lovely to play for. But Ben, who actually is a competent OC, is probably a bit of more of a harsh taskmaster. But yeah, Glenn makes sense, former player, knows how to relate to his players. Fip also makes sense, supposedly from what we've heard from like DLP when they interviewed him at the Senior Bowl a couple of years, and what some of the special teams players are saying. He's a really fun guy to work for, and obviously he's won the trust of some people because, for example, Badgley's sticking around on our practice squad for a while. By this time, knew that Fip, if he kept showing it in practice, Fip would like do what he did. It worked, so completely makes sense, and maybe vindicates a bit some of the rumors that obviously Glenn will still get head coaching looks despite how this defense has looked the past couple of years. It vindicates definitely my view that Glenn will probably be a better head coach than he ever will be a defensive coordinator.
I mean, it's not really surprising because you look at our staff, a lot of ex-players, a lot who kind of understand. So you think on a personal level, they will understand the players a hell of a lot better. And so you'll probably have that more respect there. And you see it with the guys. It's a tough love, but it's a fair love as you get on with. Whereas Ben Johnson, I imagine, I don't know, he's not on this list, but Ben's like a genius. And sometimes geniuses have their quirks. Like, he strikes me as he is dedicated, but he's in his own bubble. He's not going to go around being the life of the party. He's the guy there in the corner with his headset on, looking at his pad, looking at what he can do now. He's the ultimate brainiac. So in a competition like this, I wouldn't expect him to do well.
True. He's up in his ivory tower looking down at us peasants. Like, but even then, as you say, with him, you've got Anton Randall L, Mark Brunel. He's sort of dishes. I don't want to say like dishes out the sort of player relation stuff to his position coaches, but it seems like that he is still happy to obviously talk to Goff or Damara and everyone. But when it comes to the day-to-day stuff, it probably is Brunel who liaises with Goff. It probably is Anton Randall who liaises with Amon Ra. It probably is Hank Fraley who liaises with the offensive line. He's sort of a bit more detached, and so it makes sense that he wasn't in the top 5 maybe.
You know what? I think Hank, I reckon he would be number 1 on like the list of like skill position coaches, who is friendliest guy in the world, but sim off and you'll be running like 50 miles. I bet he's like the friendliest dude in the world until you do something wrong, and then it's like he becomes like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm sorry, Hank. Please. But I would love it. But yeah, I'm not surprised that Ben's not on there. But yeah, it's still good. It means, good corroboration with the players. The players enjoy it, and that defense is getting better. Can't lie, it's looking a lot better. Things seem to be coming together. Special teams has always been great for us. We know Phipps just amazing at his job. So, but yeah, it's not a skill thing. So let's not take that one personally that Ben isn't in there. Just before we go into the preview, Brett said very quickly about going back to Houston. He goes, the doctor also said we should probably put the brakes on James Houston's return soon. That was a bummer to hear. Was he also sort of talking about that we're rushing him back, or was there anything in there that?
So not so much rushing him back, because I was listening to most of it on the way home again after I finished the transfer pod. He basically said, "Oh yeah, he because as I said, there's videos of him doing sprints at training, but hasn't done the lateral stuff. We just know where he is. He's probably going to have some pain with that because he's got like bolts and a plate in there with some rope. He's not going to be 100% flexible. It will limit him. So and obviously his practice thing was only started 6 days ago. CJGJ's used all 3 of it, so it might be the case that he's not back until after the wildcard round, and then fingers crossed we get more than one game after the wildcard round. But it might be that he's back for that, and then that's the season. So he's definitely on the early side of the 4 to 6 month range that we were quoted when he got the injury. So maybe we need to, because the fans obviously want him because we need that explosive pass rush opposite Hutch, though. Hutch has been doing pretty well without it for the most part of this season. Already matched his 9.5 sacks from last season with a game to go. We need to call it a bit because it might be the team won't bring him back as soon as the fans probably want it, unfortunately.
No, and to be honest, we want 100% Houston next year. Like,
exactly.
If you had a choice of sit him, don't play him, you get him 100% next year, or you start him at, say, 70% this year, he gets hurt again, he has an off-season full of problems and he's not ready, then you'd obviously take the former, wouldn't you? You want him ready next year. So,
exactly.
we'll just hope others step up in his midst there. That is everything really in terms of news and bits. I think no pressers or anything have dropped yet. So we will drop down into the Vikings preview. And as I say, we played them 10 days ago. It's only been a 2-week turnaround here. Obviously, the guys did a really good job previewing this first time. So we're going to go through it again, but a lot of the underlying stats will not really have changed in lieu of one game between us. So, but yeah, let's get at this. So the 7-9 Minnesota Vikings traveling to us, the Detroit Lions, sitting at 11-5, one win away from my preseason prediction of 12-5. I'm looking forward to this. It is week 18, as we say. So the playoff picture for both teams, the Lions have clinched currently the third seed. To make the second seed, we require beating the Vikings, and we need Dallas and Philadelphia both to lose. So looks likely we're going to be third. The Vikings have not clinched. They're coming off a really rotten 1-6 run at the minute. They need to win this game, and then they require losses from Green Bay, who are playing Chicago, Seattle, who are playing Arizona, and they need one of New Orleans or Tampa Bay to lose as well if they're going to get the 7th seed. So Vikings requiring a lot for them to go right here. But of course, they've got to start by beating us first, which ain't going to be so easy. The Lions, the betting are 5-9, which is -184 in your American betting odds. Vikings are 6-4. +148. The Lions are favored by 3.5. That line has come in from 5.5. It started at 3.5, went to 5.5, is back to 3.5 again. So been pretty consistent there. The over-under is 45.5 there. I'd call that fair for this one, wouldn't you, Ash? Obviously, it's week 18. A lot can happen. It's all over the place. But Lions just about favourites for this one.
Exactly. I think the line sort of going out and then coming back in is just the reaction maybe to the Mullins news, because it's like 3.5 with Hall. Oh yeah, 5.5 because they saw what Mullins did against a couple of weeks ago. Then the line sort of calmed down again after that overreaction. Like, it doesn't matter who's a quarterback for them, really. Like, it could be Jaron Hall, it could be Nick Mullins, it could be me, it could be fucking Tom Brady. It doesn't matter. Like, we're going to do our business in this game. They need a hell of a lot to get into the playoffs. Is there a chance? Yeah. There's also a chance that a meteor could strike the earth and kill us all. Like, it's negligible. No matter what happens, we lose. Doesn't really matter. We've still got the 30 data. We win. They're screwed. Like, either way, doesn't really matter for us. Like, and honestly, I know obviously it's possible we get the second seed. I don't really care. Like, all it really guarantees is the second. Guarantees you is a home game in the second round. For all we know, it could be, let's say, Philadelphia in the division. They could lose. Dallas could lose. Like, we've seen Dallas last week. They nearly lost. Obviously, they should have lost to us. They're not this invincible juggernaut. No, it's Philadelphia. So it doesn't really matter. Let's just play our game, do what we need to do, go into next week, do what we need to do, rinse and repeat. It's just win whatever's in front of you, which is obviously Dan's mentality.
And it looks like you said, we're going to go full strength. Maybe he said there will be exceptions made for guys who might be a little bit dinged up, but we'll come down to the pros and cons of that later. Let's just first go through the injury reports for the teams, and the Minnesota Vikings are dinged up big time on the IR for them. Quarterback Kirk Cousins, running back Cam Akers, tight end TJ Hawkinson. And so, of course, in the last game against us 10 days ago, he tore his ACL and his MCL. There are fears that he won't even be ready for next year. But obviously, TJ, he's been one of us. He will always be one of us. You know, we wish you all the best, TJ. We hope you get well soon and that the injury doesn't impact you too much, because he was having a great year and I've got nothing against him. So yeah, hoping that TJ's back and fit and healthy going for next year. Also on the IR, the right tackle, Ollie Simeka, Udo, the defensive ends, Dean Lowry and James Lynch, the linebackers, DJ Wonnum and William Kwenku. I think Wonnum got injured against us as well. Linebacker Troy Dye and the outside linebacker Marcus Davenport. So a lot of guys on IR. And then the injury report from Wednesday so far. No doubt the Thursday one will drop soon. But cornerback Byron Murphy, he's got a knee injury. He did not practice. Jalen Naylor, the wide receiver, he's got a concussion, did not practice. The right tackle Brian O'Neill's got an ankle injury, did not practice. Neither did Jacqueline Roy, the defensive tackle, also an ankle injury, did not practice. And then on the light participation, Mekhi Blackman, the cornerback, he's got a shoulder injury. The guard Egg Ingram has got a shoulder injury. The DB Theo Jackson has a toe injury. Tight end Nick Muse has a knee injury. And safety Harrison Smith has a shoulder injury. He was light participation. This may be his last ever game in the NFL. And what has safety he has been. But this Vikings team, Ash, this is a proper Week 18 injury report. They've had a lot of wear and tear this season, and they're coming up into this battered by that Green Bay team.
100%. Like, big one that sticks out to me maybe is, well, at least in terms of playability for Sunday, is Jalen Naylor. This is his third week out with a concussion. For him not even to be practicing right now doesn't bode well for him. Kind of sounds like hate bringing this up because obviously happened to us. Tyrell Williams for us a couple of years in the first year of this regime. Sometimes you just can't get over his concussions. Hopefully he still has our life, but he might not be an NFL player next year. Brian O'Neill, the right tackle, if he's back, that's their offensive line upgraded a tiny bit. Like, he's a really damn good right tackle. Like, this is a guy who a couple of years ago was getting underrated because he was on such a bad Vikings offensive line, but he is a top 5, 7 right tackle in the league. He can definitely do stuff. The other guys, other than obviously Harrison Smith, were a bit part. Like, I know Byron Murphy's supposed to be the starter, but he's actually been their third, fourth best outside corner. So if he's back, doesn't really matter. Everyone else, yes, just low level guys. It doesn't really matter. They're all dinged up. Everyone's got to be dinged up. It's a battle of whoever can overcome those, sort of play through those injuries, get through it. And I have 100% faith in our team doing it because we've got a lot more to play for than they do.
If you ever see a Vikings cornerback on the injury report the week they play us, the reason should be fear of Amon-Ra, because Amon-Ra just has his way with every Vikings cornerback that he gets his hands on. But yeah, they're dealing with a lot at the minute. And as I say, with TJ, we wish him all the best. For Detroit, we are in a lot better shape. RIR, QB, Nate Sudfield, running back Zonovan Knight, offensive tackle Matt Nelson, Halapulavati Vitae, our right guard, and Emmanuel Mosley at cornerback. They're all done for the year, but I mean, we've been without these guys for a long time now. Obviously, Aleem McNeil, James Houston, CD Juice, we'll start trying to call him by his real name now, all still on IR, but they are all designated to return in the near future. Aleem and CD this week, James potentially next week or in 2 weeks there. As for our injury report from Wednesday, 3 guys did not practice. Taylor Decker with a groin injury, Jameson Williams with the ankle injury he got in the Cowboys game, Brock Wright with the hip injury that's been bothering him. Light practice, 3 guys, James Houston with his ankle, the GOAT, Sam Laporta with his ankle, and Aleem McNeil with his knee, but obviously 2 of those guys are on IR, so light practice is better than none. CD Juice from his pectoral injury, he had a full practice, which bodes really well for him. He's going to be back anytime now. Cam Sutton did a full practice with his toe injury, and Frank Ragnow had a full practice with his head, shoulders, knees, and toes injury. And I say that because it's his back, his knees, and his toes, but it just made me think of the nursery rhyme. So he's got head, shoulders, knees, and toes there. We, for week 18, are in really good shape health-wise. Actually, we're getting all our injured guys, our major injured guys, back at the right time. And for the most part, the rest of the team, it's looking pretty good approaching wildcard week.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I know Decker, no practice with the groin, but that's probably just vet rest. Like, he had this last week, still managed to play. Got faith he play. If he maybe is DNP today, then maybe I can see Dan considering sitting him out. But the thing is, if you sit him, you might as well sit Frank. And then if you're not playing them 2, you might as well sit Goff, because there is no point sticking your quarterback out there if 2 of the best offensive linemen in pass protection aren't there, because you're just inviting the Vikings to get him with a dirty hit and rule him out for the playoffs and really screw us over. JMO, DMP, he sat out the rest of the game after against the Cowboys after getting his ankle sprain. He should be fine. Again, it's probably just a thing where they just give him extra day to rest. He'll be back today. Brock, that's probably the biggest miss out of the actual ones that I'm worried about for the DMPs, because this could be his 3rd week out with it after getting it. Tight end 2 is a big important piece for us. I know obviously me and Ant are massive fans of James Mitchell, but he was up and down last week. He had some really good moments, obviously, but then obviously got a big penalty that cost us. And then obviously on the famous 3rd attempt, put 2-point attempt, didn't manage to hold in that pass. Having Brock back would be helpful to us. Houston, next week. Laporta, he should be fine. Dan said as much on Monday. It's just take it slow with him so he doesn't aggravate anything. Aleem, limited again, got a massive brace on his right knee, but he says he can play with that. Flexibility is okay. CD Juice should be ready to go. I'm expecting him to be activated any time now. We've brought up to the active roster. Frank, veteran rest, but if we need to sit him, and then Cam, it was the same last week. He was listed with a toe injury. He was doubtful even going into the day. I remember putting in, I think it was a tweet from Schefter saying that, oh no, it was Josiah Anderson saying, oh yeah, the Lions are going to take it to game time decision with Cam Sutton. He played, wasn't 100%, and maybe that's a bit of the reason why CD Lamb put up a career high and did all that. But at the same time, you're going up against a top 5 receiver in the league. There's no embarrassment in that, especially when you're quite clearly a cornerback too, being asked to play cornerback one, which is a symptom of our scheme, unfortunately, right now.
It is. But like I say, most people, this is maintenance work, and 3 of them, like nearly half this list, they're on IR coming back. So you would expect them to ramp it up slowly. So it's a good situation for us. And of course, I say the Vikings, they have got knocks everywhere. But let's take a look at the Vikings a little bit more in depth of what their depth chart is going to be for this week. So quarterback, it has been announced that Nick Mullens is going to be the guy this week after they gave Jaron Hall just 1/2 against the Packers. So St Nick, who DM'd us all his Nick picks in the first game, 4 of them to be precise, is going to be playing against us once more. At running back, you've got Ty Chandler. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and the Hall of Famer when he plays Detroit, KJ Osborne. At tight end, in TJ's absence, you've now got Johnny Munt playing there. You've got CJ Ham as fullback. And then your offensive line, you've got Christian Darrisaw at left tackle, Dalton Reisner at left guard, Garrett Bradbury at center, and currently Ed Ingram at right guard and Brian O'Neill at right tackle. But both of those guys are carrying knocks. So I just got some notes in terms of the offense here I want to discuss. And if you want to mention about it, Ash, please come in. But obviously, Nick Mullens, last time out against Detroit, went 22 of 36 for 411 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 4 interceptions, and he had 2 fumbles on the day as well. He lost his job after that, but he came back in relief against Green Bay when they were way behind. He went 13 of 22 for 113 yards and a touchdown against the Packers. But the way Minnesota have handled this quarterback situation, obviously Kirko Chains has been injured most of the year, but you bring Joshua Dobbs in, he's a feel-good story, he wins your games, then you chuck him away when he has a bad game. Nick Mullens comes in, plays well, and then you chuck him away when he has a bad game. Jaron Hall has been one of the most mistreated quarterbacks of all time, ever since they drafted him back to Zimmer, treating him like crap. And they've given him 1/2 behind a line which didn't protect him, and they've pulled him, and it's now Mullens again. They've gone 1-6 in their last 7 games. They could have been in the playoffs easy. It feels like a big missed opportunity from them to pick a guy, settle with him through the good and the bad. And even if you only win 2 or 3 games in that 7-game period, you're in the playoffs. But it's a bit of a circus there at quarterback at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just looking something up because unfortunately, Mullins was Hall was drafted this year. You're confusing him with Kellen Mond, the Texas A&M quarterback they took in the third in 2020.
All right, well, that just furthers my point that they're mistreating guys. But yeah, Jaron Hall 100%. Didn't get a fair share of the stick. But anyhow,
he didn't, and which hurts me because you remember I was a big fan of his coming into this draft cycle. I was like, if he's there in day 3 and we want to draft a backup quarterback, he was one of my guys. Obviously, goes to Minnesota, which pained me. But yeah, he's been discarded. He was good at BYU. Obviously, he was good at BYU. Had some injuries there. Did some well, especially with Puka Nacua, who is one of the receivers in front of Amon Ra for the Pro Bowl. But we both loved him anyway, so we're not too mad. He's unfortunately going to be out of the league in a couple of years, like Mondes. Like the way they've been treated, they haven't really given him a chance. No, obviously they gave him the first half last week, and they gave him a game earlier in the season before he got injured. He's going to flame out, unfortunately, with them. He's not going to get a chance. At least I made it to the pros. But it is sad because, yeah, it's just convey about the needs. I know, obviously, Kirk is supposed to be the starter. Then it's supposed to be Mullins and Hall in relief as backups, kind of like how we have with Teddy and Hooker. But you've got to give guys a chance. Yeah, they have bad games. Goff's had bad games, especially for us. What did we do? We didn't suddenly go, Teddy, you're in. We gave Goff the chance to sort of play it out of his system, get back to it. And they just don't. They're like, oh, yeah, you've played bad. Right, you're to the pine. Now you're in. If you play bad, you're going to get replaced. They don't have any confidence in their quarterback room. It might, I know with Kirk being out of contract, they probably will sign him, but they need. You can't keep signing Kurtz's for the guaranteed 1 year deal, 2 year deals. You need to get a succession plan in place now because he's been injured. He's not the youngest guy in the world. He's still competent, but you need to start working it out. And Kevin O'Connell is supposed to be an offensive guru here. You'd think he'd be wanting to get his guy now at quarterback. Maybe they can do it this year, but they're not in a position to. Even if they lose here, they're probably going to be picking between like 12 and 17, let's say. They're not going to get Caleb Williams. They're not going to get a Drake May. They're probably going to have to settle for a JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix. And maybe they can do well with them, but they're not exactly going to light the world on fire.
I know it's draft talk for another day, but actually, if they put Penix in with all them receivers, I'm like, maybe that like his receiving core is good in college, and like you put him with those three because you look at those three receivers and they're like, oh my God, they're really good. But the other bits, hang on, I've just had to put questions in. So obviously offense, but there was one part where they've been struggling. So the offensive line, Christian Darrisaw is struggling. He's given up 3 sacks and 3 quarterback hits in his last 3 games. He has set career highs in sacks given up, quarterback hits given up, and quarterback pressures this season. And it's been 6 games since he graded above 70 on PFF. And now, I know I rinse them all the time, but he's like a 90+ graded guy, high 80 graded guy all the time. And I've seen Vikings fans talking about it as well. He's in a slump. Right tackle Brian O'Neill is dinged up. He's given up 4 sacks and 11 pressures in his last 3 games. Ed Ingram, the right guard, has given up the second most quarterback pressures amongst guards in the NFL this season with 42. And Garrett Bradbury, the center, he gave up 7 pressures in the Green Bay game alone, a sack, a quarterback hit, and he got graded at 5 in pass pro. So if you're looking at this offense and where the weakness is at the moment, that offensive line is not been good these last few weeks. I say they're on a 1-6 stretch, and Green Bay dominated the hell out of them. That line is vulnerable and there to be had.
Yeah, which is kind of good news for us. Like Bradbury, not the best center in the world, and they're going against a pretty decent Green Bay interior defensive line. But yeah, when 4 or 5 offensive linemen are having that bad of a game, it doesn't matter how well Dalton Reiner's playing at left guard. If you can target everywhere else, your offensive line's as good as your weakest link, and you can target him all places. Like Hutch will probably be lined up over the right tackle like he usually does. So whoever's there, he should be able to go against. It's just now a case of can we get the advantage of these one-on-one matchups and take advantage of them? And signs point to yes, but we know obviously the games that played on paper, but as we both, well, you more than me because I do side a bit more of analytics and PFF grades. Game's got to be played. We can't just go into this game thinking on the defensive line, oh yeah, this is going to be easy. We need players like Benito Jones, like Tyson Alualu if he comes up, if Halim's back. Saying Halim, perfect warm-up game for him in a way because you line him up against Ed Ingram, he's going to be good. Go line him against Garrett Bradbury, he's going to be good. Reisner might give him a few issues, but the way this scheme's supposed to be played on the defensive line, it's probably not going to be him. It's probably going to be Benito going up against left guard. We've got good matchups everywhere. We need to exploit them. This might be a breakout game for John Scott. I know he's not from you because obviously you know him from Penn State and South Carolina with the good defensive lines. There are some fans that have been questioning his hire already, along with obviously the hire of Dre Bly from college as well. This could be his breakout game to say, this is why I was brought in. Hopefully we can put a pounding on Nick Mullens.
Oh, I've given up the assumptions on offensive line since we struggled against Abram and Cross, like a pair of rookies at Seattle, and we struggled to break them. And I agree. I get the criticism with John Scott. I do. Like the run game has been amazing, like what he's done for that, but we do need more pressures. We do need to finalize it a bit more. And we did see it against Dallas. We're going in the right direction, but there's certainly a mismatch to be had there. That Vikings O-line is not in good form at all. But you look at the skill players, and they have weapons to hurt us. So Ty Chandler, we know him well at running back. We know him well from UNC, his days there. He is the exact mold of a Vikings running back. Runs hard, runs tough. Wasn't given the opportunity to in the last game because they fell so far behind so quick. But you pair him with the 3 skill guys. You've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and KJ Osborne, who has a receiving touchdown in his last 4 games against the Lions. You have to go back to early 2021 since we last played him, and he didn't score a touchdown against us. Does nothing like the rest of the time for the Vikings, but he does there. And Johnny Munt, the new tight end, or TJ's replacement, he got a touchdown against the Packers. Looked pretty good. This is a skill group that we certainly still have to respect, even with the issues they're having at quarterback and on the line.
100%, yeah. So hopefully with CD Juice being back and some of the other pieces, we won't be able to get it. But yeah, it's going to be a case of we need to contain his receivers because Justin Jefferson, we're going to have to probably double him, which opens up opportunities and one-on-ones for Osborne and Addison. Obviously, Addison didn't do that much against us last time, but again, to go back to college, we've both seen what he could do at Pitt, where he was at Pitt with not the best quarterback play in the world, Kenny Pickett. Went to USC, wasn't as good, but still was productive. He could really do some damage in one-on-ones. Be interesting to see who starts on opposite Cam Sutton. Is it going to be Kindle Vildor, who is good at the run defense, good at the tackling line of scrimmage, or is it going to be Khalil Dorsey with the speed? Be interesting to see who line up there. And then Osborne, he's got the speed and the route running. He just last time we played him, he just able to find those zones, the mid zones, get between them, get the ball, run. It's going to be a tough all day. It's going to be luckily for us though, as you say, Hawk's not there. Munt is good, but he's not Hawk level good. We can kind of get away a bit with just sticking Anzalone on him, and he should be able to contain him well enough. It is those receivers, and it is going to be Chandler at the backfield because he's a decent receiver as well as a running back. So it's going to be those we have to focus on. But yeah, it's gonna be. It has the potential for a shootout like it was last time. Obviously, you're saying Mullins threw for 400 yards. Four interceptions, but there was also loads of big plays. We gave up like 8 passing plays of 20+ yards. It could be that all over again, which is good. It's been good viewing for everyone watching it live with us. But for me, I'm going to be sitting here like leaning back, like, oh, for God's sake, all over again.
Well, that's it. 6 turnovers means like you can negate all that yardage. It doesn't matter. They're empty calories at the end of the day. But yeah, we have to be careful. Like Jefferson had 160 yards. KJ always gets his touchdown. Addison is great. So, but there are weaknesses to be had. So you look at that Vikings offense, you respect it. But if you do what the Packers did to them, then they are very, very vulnerable. Let's switch it to the defensive side of the ball for them. So as it stands on their depth chart, so on the defensive line, you've got Jacqueline Roy and Harrison Phillips on the interior, Jonathan Bullard, Daniil Hunter at edge. And then in your linebacker room, you've got Ivan Pace Jr., Jordan Hicks and Pat Jones II. Then in the secondary, we do love a bit of secondary with Minnesota because we always skin them alive. Caleb Evans and Byron Murphy Jr. at corner, although Murphy's nursing an injury. And then Harrison Smith and Cameron Bynum, the starting safeties there as well. Now, this Vikings defense, we know what it's about. It's about pressure. It's about making a quarterback's life hell. Hence why Ivan Pace has flourished in this system as such a great blitzing linebacker there. But this defense starts and ends with Daniil Hunter. 17 sacks on the season for him, 74 pressures altogether, batted passes, 4 forced fumbles, ineptitude amount of tackles. It's the only place he struggles is his run defense, which is what we're going to come to when it comes to the Packers game in a moment. But this is a defense based on what it brings with that front 7 and making a quarterback's life hell, Ash.
Yeah, well, not just the front 7. They blitzed the secondary as well, because we've got to remember this is a blitzing team. Brian Flores, famously in the blitzer, has come over after obviously the fallout with the Miami, and this team blitzes hell up. They blitz the most in the league, but they also drop 8 the most of any team in the league. They're either bringing the entire house or they're sitting back and saying, right, okay, pick us apart if you can. It's going to be a tough chess match of a game for Ben Johnson to work out what's going on. Luckily, obviously, if Ragnell plays, we'll have good blitz pickups, hopefully, with him and Goff. But our running backs, Monty's obviously a good pass blocker. Gibbs has definitely improved at that over the past couple of weeks, though PFF will kind of disagree. Yeah, it's going to be a case of, can you spot where the pressure's coming from? Can you negate it? The good news is, we've obviously, I say good news because obviously don't want to risk injuries on players, but DJ Wonnum being out now with the torn quad against us, does negate their traditional pass rush a bit because obviously Hunter is Hunter, but on the other side now they're starting Pat Jones, who basically got a sack against us, but hasn't really done much this year. And behind him, you've got Andre Carter II, who obviously flamed out for the Army Black Knights and went undrafted. And you've got a re-signed Anthony Barr, who, yeah, used to be an edge rusher in college, kind of like Derek Barnes. There's my one mention of that a day. But they'll probably be using him on the edge a lot. It really does weaken it. If you can just double team whoever Hunter, you should be okay. We should be okay against against their pass rush. It is just a case of then when they only bring three, can the receivers find the holes in the zones to get the ball? That's going to be the case of pick up the blitzes, and when they don't blitz, find a sit down in zones and get ready to get the ball and just go down because they're going to fly to the ball as soon as the seat's coming to you. So you're going to take some big hits.
Exactly. Let's say you've just got to get through the pressure from that front seven, and then sort of you can work your way in, and you can unlock it from the inside there. But they do have some really good players on this defense, and I was shocked to realize Ivan Pace is the second highest graded guy on this team, and I want this to be a lesson to all. Never ever judge an undersized linebacker again. Like, he was undrafted, and everyone said it's his size, but when you watch what he did in college, he's so dangerous on the blitz, and he's exactly what this Vikings team is about. As I say, these linebackers who will get in these holes and just cause all sorts of problems there. But they've got a good young core of players on here for the future if they can build around them.
100%, yeah. So like, I've just closed the depth chart like an idiot. But yeah, Ivan Pace, we well, you especially knew it, but we all said he shouldn't have gone undrafted. He should have gone day two, in my opinion. Like, he was obviously the 60 energy say the size, but we proved it with ourselves last year with Rodrigo. So if you know how to use it, it doesn't really matter. They have a former first round pick as their safety, one of their safety frees, Levisine. Thank God we dodged that bullet, eh? If he gets up to speed, he can be a pretty damn good player. Andrew Booth, again, has had some injury problems, but when he's fully fit, as we've seen at Clemson, he's a damn good corner. Brian Masamoa, another undersized guy, but he's, instead of being a blitzer, he's a very good coverage backer. On that side of the they've got Caleb Evans. Even he's only drafted 2 years ago. He's already a good starting corner. They've got pieces. It is just as you say. Can they start replace? Can they when it comes to next year and the years after? Can they step up? Because obviously Harrison Smith's getting on. Daniel Hunter's probably gone this season. Harrison Phillips is their best defensive lineman, but he's pretty old. Like, it's about going to be replacing it, and they are quite old on that side of the ball. So it is going to be interesting to see in the future years. Maybe they are fully transitioned from being a defensive team they were 5-6 years ago under Zimmer when they had a lot more defensive talent, to now being this offensive team with obviously Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, KJ Osborne if he sticks around. Chandler, because again, only drafted last year in a 5th round in 2022. They've got pieces. Again, as you say, it's just building around it in the right way. You can't just suddenly decide, yep, we just do the Matt Patricia method, draft someone, they look good. But oh yeah, there's this lovely veteran who we can get in for $6 million who does things but 1 grade point better. Let's hope Kwesi can look into his analytics and build the roster right, because otherwise he might be on his way pretty soon.
I need to get a bleep for us. I need to get a bleep button so that every time we say Matt Patricia, we just bleep it out like it's an obscenity. Like, I know we actually use obscenities on here, but that is an obscenity beyond obscenities. But yeah, like I say, with this team, you know exactly where you're at on both sides of the ball. You know how to beat them. And speaking of the last game they had, the only game they've actually had since they last played us, Vikings and Green Bay. Vikings last home game of the season. Green Bay came in and dominated the living daylights out of them. 33-10 this finished. And watching this and writing the notes for it, this is how you beat the Vikings. All about the trenches. So time of possession in this game, 38 minutes to Green Bay, 22 to Minnesota. How did Green Bay do this? You win the trench warfare. So the Green Bay rushing attack, Aaron Jones, 120 yards on 20 carries at 6 yards per carry. Taylor and Dillon, the backups, they were backing him up with 4 yards per carry apiece. They had 177 total yards, rushing at over 5 yards per carry, consistently putting Jordan Love in third and manageable situations to open the playbook. And it shows in the conversion rate. They were 9 of 14 on third down. And you mix it in with the pass protection. Green Bay didn't give up a single sack all game, and just 2 quarterback hits on Love allowed him plenty of time in the pocket to pick his poison. He went 24 of 33 for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Packers' drives were methodical, a lot of running, short passes to eke out yardage, set up the favorable situations, ultimately setting up the big plays downfield like Jaden Reed's first touchdown, which was incredibly well crafted from them. And then you sort of go to the other side and you look at Minnesota. They rushed 16 carries for 67 yards. It's a lick over 4 yards per carry. It's not awful. But when you're 23-3 down at the half, you have to abandon it. You have to put yourselves in the firing line of Green Bay's pass rush, which, as we know, is never a good thing. And it showed. They were 3 of 10 on third down because too often they fell behind the chains. Jaron Hall got strip sacked just before the half. Preston Smith rinsed Christian Darrisaw. Green Bay scored a touchdown off it, and that's what happens when you're behind the chains there. And then they hook Jaron Hall at the half. They put Nick Mullens in, so the offense has to reset again. And this game died after halftime. The Vikings, their first drive, they turned it over on downs from about the Green Bay 4-yard line. Green Bay had a 9-minute drive that took all the third quarter up. They got a touchdown at the end of it. It was pure bully ball, running the ball hard, doing the big passes when they needed to. It basically killed the game into the fourth quarter. And Minnesota's only touchdown in the game came from Green Bay muffing a punt in their own 10-yard area. The Green Bay defense, 7 combined sacks, including a strip sack, 6 quarterback hits, 23 pressures, an interception. We saw, Ash, in this game, the blueprint for what they did. You win the trenches. So on offense, because you're running the ball so well and you're putting it, because they were always getting to like 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, then to 3rd and 1 or converting. So you can't use that pass rush. And Danielle Hunter's not good defending the run. You can't bring Pace and Barr and guys like that up to rush. It then sets up their weaknesses because they're not as good in coverage. You get those little passes to your guys down the center of the field. You set the big passes up down and you're gone. And they rinse the secondary. Love has all the time he needs to throw. They get ahead, you take Minnesota's running game away, and you're just teeing off them with your defensive line. The Packers played this game perfectly.
Yeah, they really did. And this game probably, well, it did. It probably sealed it. It sealed it that Jordan Love's going to be under center for them next year, for the most part next year. Like, unless it drastic happens, he's their quarterback going forward because I know it's situational. They set up really well for him. He looks pretty damn good, which is scary to say because obviously we want Green Bay to stop having a good quarterback. They've had them for too long. They've had back-to-back good quarterbacks. Let's not make it a fourth. But yeah, as you said, it just a perfect game plan for us, and it plays into our hands. We know we love to run the ball. We run the ball, and it sets up deep shots on play action for us. That's what the Green Bay kind of did. That's what we want to do. And then we stop the run. We're still one of the best teams stopping the run this far into the season. Shows that it's our identity on base downs. We like to stop the run first, then stop the pass. So if Minnesota, at least in the first half, they'll probably still keep plugging at it because Kevin O'Connell, again, comes from the sort of Rams system. So the McVay, Shanahan scheme, run the ball, play action, outside zone stuff. We're designed to stop that because we face them. We face Green Bay, who have a similar scheme. Chicago are getting towards that because obviously they have a Green Bay coordinator as well. We're designed to stop that kind of run scheme. So it's going to play into our hands. And yeah, we're going to hopefully get them into 3rd and longs. That's where the issues are because as we keep seeing week after week after week of our defense, and I hate being pessimistic about it, but it's just the trend. It's a meme with me at this point. I'd rather us be in a 3rd and 4 against a team than a 3rd and 10, because for some dumb reason, teams convert 3rd and longs a lot more often than they convert the 3rd and shorts against us. So it's good. I don't want to say I want to give them like 6 yards over 2 downs, but if we get to that 3rd and 10, it's time to nut up and shut up now. We need to work out how the fuck to stop 3rd and longs, because when we're going up against Dallas again, when we're going up against the Philadelphia, when we're going up against the San Francisco, you get them into that 3rd and longs and they convert. They're just going to keep on going. You're not going to get into those situations that often. So you need to take advantage. So now this again, warm-up game for us to sort of work out whatever we need to do on that back end. If it's CD Juice being back and then being able to communicate between the secondary and set up who's covering who and getting that right, this is the time to do it now, because we can't use the wild card for that now. When we get to next week, if we don't do it right, we're out, and then that horrible stat of we haven't won a playoff game continues. Not only do I want us to break that, I want us to go deep. I still have, in my heart of hearts, I can see a path for us to at least get to the championship game and put up a reasonable performance there. If it's against San Francisco, if it's against Philadelphia, it's against Dallas, I can see us doing that. But we need to work out these tiny little kinks, especially 3rd and longs on defense, and then whatever the hell goes on with in the red zone for us. Those are the two things we really need to work out in this game, because we can't experiment from then on. We need to treat this like how the Ravens treated some of the previous week 18s in the past year, where they didn't run Lamar. They made him a pocket passer so he could get that experience. So when it came to being a pocket passer in the playoffs, he had the experience to at least look competent at it, because I still remember vividly that first year properly of Lamar in the center, and they played the Titans, and the Titans just ran him over because Lamar wasn't able to pass on those deep situations. That's what we need to do now. We need to experiment in this game, work out our kinks. So when it comes to the playoffs, it's all for that engine is purely tuned, and we can just drag race everyone.
And interesting, that year, the Ravens rested Lamar the last week of the season. He didn't play for nearly 3 weeks. And this year, they're doing the same. He's not going to play a game for 19 days, which, given the longevity of an NFL season, is a long time. So it's going to be interesting to see if they've learned from history. But anyhow, back to us. I agree. The playoffs got to be a win there, because the trouble is we're facing either our ex or our bully. And, like, you can't lose to your ex and you can't lose to your bully. Like, you've got to stand up to them both. And if you lose, the narrative continues. But yeah, with the Vikings, I mean, we've seen exactly what we need to do. This is a team who are low on confidence. They don't have a quarterback. They're 1-6 in the last 7. And Green Bay bullied them into submission. I don't know if you remember, but Jaden Reed's second touchdown, like, Jaden Reed is not he's not a DK Metcalf. Like, he is more of a diminutive wide receiver, we would say. He carried 3 Vikings defenders over the line with him. It's like they beat them into submission and they gave up. And for us, that's exactly just what we need to do in this game, isn't it? Beat them up on the line of scrimmage, make them want to go home in this season to end, and then that's game for us. And we can work all these like little kinks, like you say, in the process. Offensive line needs work, defensive line needs work, but ultimately, if we bully them, we should win easy in this.
Exactly, yeah. And as we keep saying, that plays into our hands. We are designed to be, I don't want to say a smash mouth offense, but we are designed to just bully teams up front. We have our top 2 offensive line, really good running back duo, wide receivers who can do a whole lot of things. Amon Ra, who I know Jeremy's just tweeted out a quote from him from the locker room, asked about the Pro Bowl snub. I was hot. He's got that extra little chip on his shoulder this week to say big F you to all the fans who didn't, and the players and coaches who didn't vote for him. Josh Reynolds, the guy's a consistent possession receiver, especially on the deep routes. J-Mo, if he's back from the ankle sprain, we all know what he can do against the Vikings. We saw it last year. We saw it this year. Khalif Raymond, speedy little dude, kind of like Jaden Reed. Not the biggest guy, but you get the ball in his hands, he can do stuff. We've got a whole host of weapons. Hell, Sam Laporta's probably got a little chip on his shoulder. I know he got him into Pro Bowl. He needs 140 yards on Sunday, and he breaks that 1,000-yard receive thing. I can see if we get there, look, it can happen. All he probably needs like 6 catches, one of them to break big, which can happen with him. We've seen it happen before, and he can get there. We've got the weapons to really bully him in the pass game and the run game on offense, and on defense. Hutch probably want to break that 10 sack mark, so he only needs half a sack. Liam will be working back. CD Juice will probably want to come back. I think Iffy will probably want to continue his massive streak of form. Kirby might be looking at Iffy and CD Juice coming back and be like, fuck, I'm about to lose my job. He'll be fired up. And we all know what happens in week 18 when he's facing the divisional foe. He's usually the one that ends the game for us. So cough, cough, snip, wink, wink. That's my hot prediction for this week is him doing that again. We've got the pieces there. It's just, can we execute it? Do we have that extra motivation to maybe it's exhibition game? It's kind of like the Orange Bowl was for FSU this week. It doesn't really matter for us. We're going to be going to the wild card, but can we just have that motivation to still go out there and perform on the day?
Yeah, and grit mentality like dictates that you have to. There are loads of people resting starters this week. We're not, and I mean, like, part of me is terrified. Like, God, if what they get injured, but at the same time, this team, as Dan said, his words, they're going to train a little harder. They're going to work a little harder. They're going to think a little smarter, and this is what they're going to do. The more you put adversity in the way, the more they're going to fight against it. And in terms of Amon-Ra, I don't know how he can grow the chip on his shoulder any bigger. Did you see him on his podcast? And they were talking about the ref decision, and he's like, "I just want to run through a wall, man." I'm just,
oh yeah, with Hutch, yeah.
I love the attitude they showed on that. Hutch is like, "Screw it, we'll beat them in the playoffs. We don't care." And he rightly actually pointed back to when he was at Michigan and they played State, and Kenneth Walker broke them a new one in that game. And he's like, "You know what? I had a shitty decision in that game. It made us better. And look at Michigan. They've destroyed everything for the 3 years since that happened." They're right. And Amon-Ra's like, I just laughed when he said, "I want to run through a wall." I'm like, if you keep running through walls like you are, you're going to break eventually. It's just the dude is relentless.
He's been watching too much of X-Men The Last Stand.
I bet he's just got to go Super Saiyan, isn't he? He's just going to be like Goku, and he's just going to go absolutely crazy, for those who know that reference, if you're young enough. But that's the team itself in terms of Minnesota on their offense and the defense. And this is the part usually where we would do, like, what are you looking for in this? The breakdown, the battles in this. Now, I know you've just gone through a lot of bits there, but specifically in this game, given that it is as much a tune-up game for us to try and get things right, and there are things we need to implement, what are the positional battles or the player battles or anything you're specifically looking at in this one for week 18?
Justin Jefferson versus our second. Well, yeah, Justin Jefferson mainly, but that wide receiver core against our secondary, because if the Vikings are going to have a chance in this game, that's how it's going to be them just breaking loose on our secondary, getting those explosive plays again, and just tearing us a new one. But then obviously our defensive line versus our offensive line, it's not good. Ours is not great. Obviously, we've got Hutch. Hopefully, Liam's back, but he won't even be a sense. We need to put our things there, and then it's just our running backs against their defense, because if we get a lead early, we could go into sort of not exactly the 4-minute offense with time controlling, but we'll lean on that run a bit more. We'll get them the tread, sort of get them warmed up for the playoffs. So when we come into whoever are playing in next week, be it Packers or the Rams, we can absolutely ride the hot hand of running back.
Yeah, I agree there. And for me, I think as well, I do want to see execution from the offensive line. Because, again, what we did last week with Dallas, allowing so many unblocked blitzers, etc., that plays into their hands, because they have the guys who were set up very specifically to stop you running the backfield quite far back. So we've got to see the better execution from the guys this week. And then on the defensive line, you've got to put the foot in while they're down. They are in bad form at this moment. Even their star left tackle, who has been... Christian Darrisaw has been a stud for 3 years now, an absolute stud in this league, like one of the best at his job. He's going through a rough patch. Hutch gave him issues in the first game. Like, you really got to go and press the trench warfare aspect of this, because if the Packers can do it, Ash, we sure as hell should be able to.
Exactly, yeah. I know obviously we've split with the Packers this year, but we've got the game plan there. It's more up to them to adjust to that than it is to do something new, because if we just go out and do what we usually do, we should be able to beat them. We don't need to see like what happened with Denver, where we came out thinking, oh yeah, they know how to beat us now. We need to do something completely different, and it turned out they actually weren't that fucking arsed, and we can do our usual shit. We need to go out from snap one, right after the kick. If we're on offense, defense, obviously hoping it's offense, because Obviously, we lost last week, but we're 6-1. We get the balls open the first half. Long may that continue. Let's just come out of there, do our own thing, because we don't need to worry about who's in front of us. We don't need to worry about facing the playoffs. I know obviously the NFL set it up so technically we have stuff to play for because we're still in play for the 2 seed at that point because Philly and Dallas both playing the later slate. We don't need to worry about that. Just go out, beat whoever's in front of you. Whatever happens, que sera, sera. We'll put a kicking down on the Vikings, send them extinct like the actual real life Vikings. It's time for the Detroit Lions, baby.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that. That Thanksgiving game that the Packers played against us, that would be the source material that the Vikings would use on us. Like, they put us behind the chains and then Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith teed off on us. Exactly like they did. It's almost like they've got a defensive genius who needs extending in Green Bay, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, extend whoever their DC is. Please, long may his reign continue.
Exactly. Just go to the Green Bay owners and show them tape of the Thanksgiving game and this game at the weekend, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, we got the best guy in the league. Give him 5-6 years, and that's it." But it is true, though, isn't it? That is how you beat us, and that is how you beat that is how you beat the Vikings. The Green Bay have shown it twice there. So, is there anything else you want to mention about this Vikings team before we do the predictions? Any other little tidbits or anything, or shall we go into predicting how much the Lions are going to win by? Because I know sure as hell we ain't predicting a Vikings win.
Well, I can just hear Matt's upset at the fact that their long snapper got voted to the Pro Bowl. Andrew DePaola, well done, my friend. Well done for making the Pro Bowl.
And that was not me making a long snapper joke. He's going to come in now and say something now that you've said that if he's listening. So, obviously, special teams. Greg Joseph hit a 50-yard field goal in that one, which was pretty good. So, yeah, maybe don't give him too many field goals. But he likes to miss against us. But predictions, Ash, the time's there. We're at this point. How many are the Detroit Lions going to win by? And what score is it going to be?
34-14 in our favor.
Ooh, like it. I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to say 50 burger from the Lions to 17 for the Vikings. Santa Nick is going to throw us some picks, and we're coming back off a defeat as well. Like, the Lions play their best ball coming off defeat, and they've been wound up like a toy this week, and they're going to be out. And there's going to be a lot of players. I think a lot of fringe players are going to be wanting to get in there. They're going to be wanting to make plays. And I saw a Vikings team that gave up last week.
Yeah.
I know they can still make the playoffs, but
it's a long shot.
It's a very, very long shot indeed. Put them in the comments. What have you got as your predictions here? Anyone brave enough to predict a Vikings win? I know none of you all are that stupid, but let us know there.
I just feel sorry for Brad Rogers. This is going to be another game. He's coming off a bad decision against us. And I can just imagine it now. The poor guy, Skipper's going to come into the jumbo set. He's going to come up right into his face and say, "I am fucking reporting is eligible," right into his face, getting all red in the face like a proper Daily Mail reader over here when he reads that this immigration law has been passed that allows more people to come in over here. No, he's going to be red in the face screaming, "I am fucking eligible." Just whatever. I know we shouldn't be mentioning it, but what the hell were the NFL thinking releasing that video that clearly shows that they were wrong? And yet we also know they released clips of Skipper being mic'd up for their Around the NFL show. Release the audio because you won't, because it shows you wrong and you're scared shitless.
If the audio supported them, it would have been out before we could have complained. That's how you know it's not true. And fair play to everybody who is calling this thing out, whether they be pundits, analysts, fans of other teams. Kudos to whoever's putting up the billboards around Michigan as well. You are absolute heroes. We love it. I want to get myself a shirt that says, "I didn't say a word on it." That is going to be my next purchase. If anyone is selling shirts like that, I will get one for the pod. "I didn't say a word," and eligible on the back.
Exactly. I want one that says, "I am eligible." Whoever can do it when we come over to the draft, please have some ready. We'll pay you for them. Just have them ready for us when we come over in late April, which I officially got books off from work. I'm officially coming. It's all sorted.
I want to see if the NFL shop will do an eligible 68 shirt, because I've seen I've seen the mocks done up of them. Number 68 eligible. Yeah, you
because
can
it's like
get
over here with where you can get the blank ones and fill it in. Yeah, I think
yeah.
someone's done it. I can't remember who I saw on Twitter, but I think someone's actually got it, and they will be wearing it to the game. And supposedly, if they've got like front row seats near the one of
Yeah.
the end zones, so imagine like the Vikings score, and then the cameras there celebrating. You just see someone at the front's got just turned around, like pointing, like Lionel Messi at the end of a hat trick, saying eligible 68 on the back.
Yeah, absolutely. A few scores in here. Leicester White goes Lions 31, Vikings 20. Lions sit their starters in the fourth quarter. Hey, I'll take that. As long as it's not a cardiac cats performance, I do not care. If it's cardiac cats performance this week, I'm going to be concerned. Brent goes 42-17 Lions, controlled fury. I love that. Dan's a soundbite machine, isn't he? Controlled
Yeah.
fury, aggression, wrath, the seven deadly sins. Whatever Dan's you could put whatever Dan says on a t-shirt and it'd look cool. Like
Oh,
that is
100%,
that is
yeah.
my thing. When I'm older, we're going to be able to write a book about all Dan Campbell's quotes, and like it'll be the greatest Lions gift you can get for somebody. Like we got to live through this period. If you've got any Lions questions or anything you want to put in, let us know. We've had a few from Mike the Marine already. We'll do them at the end of the show, but we're going to drop down into the rest of the NFL because why not? We got time to talk this week. So there's a lot going on, as I've already said. All the playoff games need to be confirmed, teams need to be confirmed. So let's drop down into it. So around the NFL, the playoff picture, 9 of 14 playoff teams have been decided. In the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, us, the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Rams have all confirmed their spots. So just two places left to confirm in the NFC. One of those will be the NFC South winner, which could be Tampa Bay, New Orleans, or Atlanta. They will be the fourth seed. And then you're going to have a big ass fight between the NFC South runner-up, Green Bay, Seattle, Minnesota, and Atlanta as well. In the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, and the Cleveland Browns have all clinched with three places left to confirm. AFC South sees a three-way tie between Jacksonville, the Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Houston Strouds, all fighting it out for the fourth seed. Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the other teams involved in the playoff picture. In terms of the divisions themselves in the NFC, Lions have won the North. In the NFC East, it's going to be the Cowboys or the Eagles. In the West, the 49ers, they're going to be the one seed. They've won that and sewn it up. The NFC South, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, or Atlanta. AFC North's been won by Baltimore. They're the one seed. The AFC East comes down to a big matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. AFC West, Chiefs. Always going to be they've lost 6 games and they've still cantered to it. And the AFC South is going to be Jacksonville, Indianapolis, or Houston. It's going to be a crazy final week, Ash. Lots still to be decided.
Exactly, yeah. Like it's just nice for once to see this Chiefs not be the first seed, for them have to go through the wild card round and all that. It'll be nice. Might put some humility into Brittany Mahomes and Jackson Mahomes and that to actually have to fight for a game for once.
Yeah,
As we mentioned earlier, will Lamar be able to come off his this cooling down period and still be able to do it? Maybe, probably. Like that defense is really good. The game of the week, though, obviously other than ours, is Miami Buffalo, because as we mentioned earlier, the Bills have to win that or they might be out. And Miami, well, it'd be nice to see them win the division for once, because I think they won it once under Flores when he first came in. But then Buffalo have been the bit like the winners there. I'm just glad the Patriots aren't in it, to be honest. It'd be nice to see them have a bit of humility, again to mention humility, a bit of time in the doldrums, learning a bit of humility, and then they can rise back again. It's gonna be a fun old weekend. Like I'm gonna be here on the stream probably with 10 million tabs open, tracking all the games, because ours nothing really to play for other than just stats and that. Be nice to sit to keep it sort of like have our own version, like the Raw the Lions version of Red Zone. We haven't done like the Lions Vikings game in, but we have like little game breaks with Ash where it's like, oh yeah, this has happened.
There you go. That's it. Scott Hansen, eat your heart out. It's Ash Soden, not Scott Hansen. There we go. So what I've done, we're going to go through the fixtures one by one, and I've hopefully correctly managed to tabulate everything that is involved in these games still to break it all down a little bit. But first, I just need to say, Independent Aquaman, quoting William Wallace in an English podcast chat is not the wisest of ideas. We were on the receiving end of William Wallace. So, and that film is historically inaccurate to high heaven. There is so much wrong. That is a fantasy film. None of that really happened. Well, it did, but not in the way it happened on there. It is one of the biggest historical fallacies of all time. So
it's up there with Gladiator for me, and everyone. Well, as you can tell, I know quite a lot about how inaccurate Gladiator was.
Exactly.
Not. I'm just going to put it this way: the Princess of England, who he falls for in that film, was 9 years old when it actually happened. Was like 2 years old when that film, the events of that film happened. It was 2 to 9 because it spans a couple of years.
And we had the Battle of Stirling Bridge on a field. Where was Stirling Bridge? Just didn't happen there. And Edward the Longshanks was the damn good king. So I don't like the way he's done in that. So yeah. Not a way to get brownie points in the chat there, quoting William Wallace. But it is a great film. Yeah, if Steve was here, Steve's north of the border. He's a faux Scotsman, so he might back you, but no, not us. But it is a good film, and we appreciate you being in here with us. So the games first up, Saturday is a banging slate. 9 and 7, Pittsburgh Steelers travel to the 13 and 3 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have nothing on the line. They've sewn up the AFC North and the 1 seed in the AFC. Quarterback Lamar Jackson has been rested, meaning he won't play for 19 days. Tyler Huntley is going to deputize for him. For the Steelers, they can still make the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's run of having a winning season is intact. They're coming off a really good win against the Seattle Seahawks, which was great because that means the Seahawks are screwed out the playoffs. Screw the Seahawks. But they need to beat the Ravens, and they need the Buffalo Bills to lose against the Miami Dolphins, and they're in. And they've got Rudolph's Christmas magic there, Ash. How do you see this game going? Obviously, on paper, it would be the Ravens because they're at home, but they're going to be resting guys. The Steelers are going to be eager to get in, and when they want a result, they can get it. Who do you see winning this one? The Steelers going to make the playoffs?
No. As Ravens can be sitting people, they've just got too much coaching talent and deep talent in their depth to do it. The Steelers, well done to them for making yet another winning record. Like Tomlin has made some sort of deal with someone, because I think he's broken the record now for most consecutive winning seasons from like a starting head coaching career. Like that dude has done some really good stuff, but the defense is good. They just don't have enough on that offense. I know the offensive line and Najee have stepped up in recent weeks. I just don't know. I just don't know. I can trust that offense. Like Pickens might make a couple of big catches, but that's about it. Like I can just see the Ravens going into cruise control. It's at home. They've still got enough. But I will have Huntley. Huntley, you've got to remember, Huntley's a former Pro Bowl quarterback himself. So he's surely got enough talent to lead them through it against his Steelers defense.
George Pickens is forever going to be a constant irk for me. I accidentally left him in my fantasy team 3 weeks in a row and he did nothing. I took him out last week. 4 receptions for 206 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, do it the week that I actually take you out because I'm looking at my fantasy football team. But you know what? I'm going to go for some late Christmas cheer. I'm going to say that Mason Rudolph and the Steelers are just going to get into the playoffs for the hell of it. And plus, I don't like the Bills, so I do want the Bills out. So there we go with that one. But that is what is in with that game. Steelers need to win to get into the playoffs. Next up, huge game in the AFC South. We have the 9 and 7 Houston Strouds at the Indianapolis Colts, who are also 9 and 7. So the AFC has a 3-way tie for the lead. Currently, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the driving seat because of division record, which for them is 4 and 1 currently. The Colts currently hold the 7th seed, and the Texans are on the bubble. But the equation is the same for both of these teams. Win the game, and at minimum, you've got the inside track to the 7th seed and a spot in the playoffs. Lose, you're out entirely. Then for the winner, is going to be an agonizing wait for the Jags-Titans game. If the Jags lose that, the winner of this game is the AFC South winner and the 4 seed. If the Jags win, they'll just be in the playoffs. But the AFC South, Ash, is a really fascinating conference this year. I mean, from one that could have been really boring, the rise of the Strouds, the rise of Minshew Mania. This is going to be a great week. Houston on the road. Who's going to get the win in this one? Because for them at the minute, this is for the AFC South technically, because they don't know what the Jacksonville Jags are going to do. I think this could be one of the games of the week.
It really could be, and maybe it's my own personal bias because I do really love the Houston Strouds. I can see them edging it as much as I love Minshew as well. Like his story's good. Houston's got strange to say considering where they were this time last year, especially with draft position. They've just got more talents on their team than Indianapolis do, in my opinion. Like Sirianni's a good head coach. Don't get me wrong; they do have some pieces on that team, but
Steichen.
It's just like, oh God, Sirianni's the one who was the former OC, isn't it?
Don't worry, Ash. We all do it. We all do it. Don't worry.
It's because they keep me into swapping. Whoever's OC, then whenever the other team fires, oh my God, I'm going to use that sword down there to off myself in a bit. Get off this carry time. Bloody hell. But yet, just Houston, DeMarco Ryans has done a fucking hell of a job. Like, if the coach of the year doesn't go to Dan Campbell, it better go to DeMarco Ryans because he's done a hell of a job with that team. So, yeah, as you can tell, I'm predicting Houston to win and to probably win. They win, don't they? They could win the AFC South. I can see that. Actually, no, Jack's playing the Titans.
They'll get in the playoffs. So winner gets in the playoffs, I think, as the seventh seed, pretty much.
Hell, if they make the playoffs, I can see them upsetting a team because the seventh, they'll play number 2, which will be probably Miami.
Yeah,
they could do it. Tua versus Stroud, Alabama quarterback versus Ohio State quarterback. The battle of who can break the helmet scouting curse.
Yeah. Milwaukee goes, I like Grossi's Stroud's fan. That's where I'm ripping it off from. I watch Tom's channel all the time. His Stroud's character, who is an absolute psychopath, is like one of the greatest creations of all time. But I'm just doing it now, calling him the Stroud. For me, this is like two Cinderella because I love Gardner Minshew. Like what he's been through, and to be able to get back to a starter again, to get the Colts to relevance. I love Gardner Minshew. And I really like CJ Stroud because I gave him a lot of tap in the pre-draft process last year because you're at Ohio State, you've got a wealth of round 1 receivers to throw at. And then he's going to Texas where you've got Nico Collins and you've got a load of no-names and he's elevated them to a new level. And he has looked like an NFL quarterback from day one. So it's like big mad props to him for what he's done there. I don't want to root against either of them, but the Strouds are the passing fancy at the minute, and I do want the Strouds to win. But whoever does, I'm not going to be disappointed. You got to be Gardner Minshew. CJ Stroud will get his time eventually. Maybe might be Gardner's last shot. Who knows? So I'm not going to be disappointed. But overall, I'm going to say the Strouds win a very, very close one, but I'm going to stay up for it. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. Then moving into Sunday. So we've got the 8-8 Tampa Bay Bucks at the Carolina Panthers, who are 2-14. Panthers, I've put they're playing for pride and nothing more, but it doesn't even look like they're playing for pride at the moment after that Packers game. The Buccaneers control their own destiny. They just need to match the New Orleans result, and the NFC South and the 4th seed are theirs. Obviously, a win is the easiest way, but they can clinch it even without a win so long as New Orleans doesn't do better than them. If they lose and New Orleans win, their season is over. Now, these are like the tricky banana skin ones. Like Carolina have nothing to play for, but they're not tanking for the number 1 pick either because the pick ain't theirs and they wouldn't have to anyhow. So they could play spoiler and they're at home. Is there an upset on the cards here, or are the Bucks going to get over, whether it be Baker Mayfield, which it should be, or Kyle Trask? Do you see an upset?
Most of it pains me because Carolina kind of one of my second teams in NFC because I've got friends over there in Carolina. One of my best friends over here supports them. I can't see it. Bryce Young has just been scared to like a deer in headlights. They really need to fix them. They need to fix the offense. They've got pieces on there for sure, but there's not enough on their offense for me to scare me against that Bucks defense. And then if Baker doesn't play, maybe Carolina could get some turnovers because that's one of the few bright spots on their team is the fact that defense has been pretty damn good. But I think the Tampa offense is a bit the differential between the Tampa offense and Carolina defense is less than the difference between the Tampa offense and like the vice versa. Basically, Carolina don't have the offensive firepower to overcome the Tampa defense, while the other side does. So Tampa win it. It might be close. It might even come down to a walk-off field goal. But I can just see Tampa edging it out. Yeah, imagine that. Like Tampa need they know the results of the Saints game, and they know we need a field goal, and then they send out their kicker Chase McLaughlin for like a 52-yard when he sinks it to win the division. Like the celebration of those Bucs fans will be great to watch, and maybe they deserve it after we took over their stadium when we came to visit them. Maybe it's their turn to sort of take over an opposing stadium, have a good moment.
I mean, it's not a division you're proud of winning this year, is it? It's like you've won it in spite of. But
yeah,
for me, I'm so invested in proving that Mickey Loomis is a fraud with his money schemes at New Orleans Saints. I don't want them winning an NFC South to kind of prove it right. So Bucks win. Bucks going to win handsomely. Panthers had their chance against the Packers a couple of weeks ago and blew it, but it could be the site of an intriguing storyline. Who knows? The 11-5 Cleveland Browns, story of the season, maybe, at the Cincinnati Bengals, 8-8. Browns have clinched a playoff spot, but they can't catch the Ravens in the AFC North, so they're resting players as well. Jeff Driscoll, remember Jeff Driscoll? Because I sure do, is getting the start at quarterback, and other starters figure to be rested because that is a badly banged up team. Cleveland's injury list is huge, so I would not be surprised to see them rest a bunch of guys because they can't afford many more injuries. Bengals are eliminated. Obviously, Joe Burrow's been injured for some time now, and their quarterback, Jake Browning, extraordinaire initially, but gone standard now. He's going to play. So Driscoll versus Browning. There's not really much in this. Who's going to win, Ash?
I'm actually going to say the Bengals win. The Bengals win because I can see at least their defensive coordinator getting some head coaching looks in the offseason. So they're going to play for him to sort of give him the best send off the can because Anu doesn't really have the talent of some of these other big names around the league. He's done a damn good job with that Bengals defense. So I can see them sort of showing up for him in his sort of like potentially his last game as their coach to sort of not play spoiler, but put a beating like to sort of stick one up to the Browns, who obviously can't like us a bit of feel good story this year. Jim Schwartz did a hell of a job with their defense as well. But yeah, we've just the fact that the Bengals still probably be playing quite a lot of their guys, the Browns will be sitting quite a lot of their banged up guys. That just difference in talent might be enough to tip it in the favor of the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Browns should just rest everybody that they can. And I mean, we've got to give them mad props because I know we're all in heavily biased on Campbell being coach of the year. But when you think of what Stefanski's done without his quarterback, scumbag, running back, right tackle, right guard, like half his defense is missing. They're all out for the year. They're just flat out gone. And they're resting players as a bye week because they've already qualified for the playoffs with a week to go. As much as we want it to be done, we can't deny that Stefanski's done an amazing job there.
Yeah, 100%. And it pains me to say because that's a former Viking coordinator.
Yeah.
But like he has done like obviously he had a really good first season with them, being down a past couple years, but he's kind of come back to saving his job because he was on the hot seat coming into the season. So he's kind of saved it. He's got at least another year, and maybe they can maybe let's hope they can sort out the quarterback situation. I know they're tied into the man that Arnold Schwarzenegger fights in quite some of his most famous films, but let's just let's leave it there, right?
Oh, dear, do tickle me.
Oh,
right.
sugar.
You're right.
Injury reports out, and there's two new additions.
Okay, go on.
Graham Glasgow, admittedly veteran rest, but no practice, and Benito Jones, no practice with illness. JMO, Brock, Frank, no practice, and then so then Houston, Laporta, McNeil, same as yesterday, limited. Decker, CD Juice, Cam Sutton, all full practice.
So Decker's gone from no practice to full practice. Yeah. Frank's gone from full practice to no practice, but that'll be his veteran rest day because he always gets one. Frank had full practice yesterday. And then everybody
Yeah.
else is sort of in the middle,
And
and then the two new additions.
they're dumping all the news on us. We've just waived a tight end, Anthony Ferguson. They're just
Oh,
releasing all the
Ferks has
news on
gone.
us. Ferguson
Oh,
has gone.
Lord. And this is us talking about the NFL here. So, right, tight end Anthony Ferguson is gone. And then the new injury list has dropped. So, actually, that's pretty good. So, Decker's back fully. Frank's
Yeah.
on a rest day. And then everybody else is sort of up in their levels of participation, apart from Benito and Glasgow, who've been added to the list. But Glasgow's a
Yeah.
veteran rest day.
Yeah, it literally says like rest. So that should be good. And Benito's an illness, so hopefully be better. But God, to be fair, actually, it plays into our hands a bit in terms of what we were saying earlier. Could be more snaps for Broderick.
Okay, so
Silver
that's
lining.
yeah. So that's not actually a bad injury. So there's nothing really major at the minute then to suggest that nobody's going to play. So
Yeah, not yet.
we're all right
Not
there.
good.
Oh, that's good. Taylor full practice is really good there as well. Right. Sorry, let's get back to the NFL bits. The 6-10 New York Jets traveling to the 4-12 New England Patriots. Oh, I bet this is going to be on your red zone, Ash. The dead rubber in the AFC East. The Patriots are fighting for the number 2 pick in the draft, currently held by Washington. It's Trevor Siemian versus Bailey Zappi. It's like Kong versus Godzilla, but might be Bill Belichick's last ever game as head coach of the New England Patriots. Is he going to send the Patriots fans home happy one last time by beating the Jets for probably the 100th time in his career?
I say yes. But in the hope, well, you actually Dale Silford. Yeah, I can see it happening. So send them off on a happy note, and then get them to. At the same time, because it screws them over as well. So they send them off happy note to win, but they also don't get Drake May. They don't get the quarterback of the future. So whoever comes in next has a real tough decision on their hands. Do they still pick Mac Jones? Do they give Bailey Zappi the starting job to start next season? Or do they go for one of those sort of tier 2 quarterbacks? And then you can leave him with that decision and go sign a nice, healthy paycheck with Tom Telesco to go and be the new head coach and GM of the Los Angeles Chargers.
You know what? I want the Jets to win just so in 15 years' time, when you can go, who was the last quarterback to beat the legendary head coach of New England, Bill Belichick? And you've got to go, Trevor Siemian. Like, nobody. That's like only a stats nerd would get that. That would be great. But yeah, Patriots will win to end out the season. It'll be interesting to see if he is done after all this time. But yeah, it will be sad. But I think his time's come and gone. It's feeling like Saban's, like Nick Saban's time, feeling like it's come and gone now. He's outdated. Michigan showed that his systems are outdated at this point. 7-9, the Atlanta Falcons at the 8-8 New Orleans Saints. Now, this is where it starts getting fun on the weekend, folks. Both teams can still win the NFC South. Yes, the Falcons can still win it. The Saints need to win and hope the Buccaneers lose or tie, and then the NFC South and 4th seed is there. So basically, they've got to better the Bucs result. The Falcons need to win, and they need Tampa to lose outright, and then they take the NFC South and the 4th seed on divisional tiebreakers. But they can't make the playoffs if Tampa win. So it is literally division title or nothing for them. And the quarterback situation's in the air. Heineke's banged up, so it's either going to be a less than healthy Heineke or a fully healthy Desmond Ridder, and who knows who's better there. You've got Derek Carr on the Saints side. There is a lot riding on this. These NFC South rivalries, as we know from the guys, they hate one another passionately, and there is a lot on the line here. Falcons at Saints, Ash. Who wins to keep their hopes of the NFC South alive?
The Saints, unfortunately. Like, I know this, and it pains me. It comes down to one stat, as you said, QB situations in the air, so they're going to lean on the run. And I don't know if you've seen the graph that Jeremy Rosen tweeted out today about teams with their diversity of run schemes and the efficiency of their run. Just look where the Falcons are on that efficiency scale. Who would have thought that drafting the best running? Who would have thought that drafting supposedly the best running back in the draft class would make your running attack that shit? They are so far back; it's unbelievable on that scale. Like, what the hell? They've got two. Don't get me wrong. They've got two really good running backs. Bijan Robinson's good. Tyler Algier is very good as well. But for some reason, they just haven't been able to get that going really in the second half of the season. And they really needed to this week because Heineke, being banged up, might not be 100%. And Ridder, Jesus Christ, that man turns over, commits more turnovers in the bakery baking the apple ones in the morning. Like, it's horrific. The Saints will just have to come out, play a mediocre game, and they'll probably be able to win it by a score or two. But they still probably won't make the playoffs because Tampa's probably going to win against Carolina. So
it's like that burning dumpster fire gif. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to say there's an upset with the Falcons, but what I'll do, I'll take Kyle Pitts out my fantasy team and he'll produce. He'll have like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns.
You're playing in a league that's still going this late.
No, but I'm just symbolically going to do it.
Fair enough. I was going to say, Jesus, that's a sicko fantasy league.
I will symbolically take him out of my fantasy team and he'll score 300 yards. That's how we'll do it. So there we go. Next on the docket, the 9-7 Jacksonville Jaguars against the 5-11 Tennessee Titans. Jacksonville control their own destiny, win. The AFC South is theirs, but any slip-ups and potentially they can miss the playoffs altogether. They will, because one of the other sides is going to win. The Titans are a mess. Their season is over, but Mike Vrabel will not let them have the week off. He will want to spoil the Jacksonville party there. It looks like it's going to be Tannehill if Levis's ankle injury is still there, but you know, on paper, one team has a division to play for, the other doesn't, but Vrabel doesn't strike me as the one who's going to go down without a fight. Will Jacksonville get over the line? Because they've not looked good recently.
This is where my upset comes in. I can see Ryan Tannehill coming in and deciding, okay, I know Levis is going to be starting here next year. I need to set an audition up for another team. And he just comes out and he looks like the Tannehill of the past couple of years, where he just looks really good on the play action. He tears the Jags secondary apart because he knows he's out in the season. I could see him maybe going to, like, I know obviously I said to Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. Imagine Tannehill in Atlanta. At least it's not the best. He's not the best quarterback, but in that sort of scheme, going back to the guy who used to be his OC when he had his best years, this is his chance to say to Arthur Smith, you need a quarterback because Heineke ain't it, Ridder ain't it, and you're not really in a position to draft a guy. Come and sign me on a reasonable deal. I can carry you to a division title. I can see the Titans doing not the unthinkable, but sticking one up at the Jags and saying, you're not making the playoffs on our count, mate. We're going to beat you. We're not losing to you in our own home. You've got to earn it.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is dealing with that AC sprain at the minute, so he's not fully healthy. And if he plays and they're doing bad and they have to go to CJ Beathard, they might panic. I think I see an upset here as well. I think the Titans are going to do that. And then the Strouds can win the division and go to the playoffs. The NFC North next. The 7-9 Bears against the 8-8 Packers. The Bears' season is over. They're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but with the number 1 pick in the draft sewn up due to Carolina, they've nothing to lose in this game. The Packers realistically need to win to make the playoffs. They can still do this with a loss, as they hold the 3rd level of tiebreaker over the Bears, which is record against a common opponent. Hence why the Bears can't make the playoffs at 8 and 9, but the Packers can. But they would require 3 other results to go their way if they lost. If they better the result of the LA Rams, they will get the 6th seed and likely play the Lions in Detroit. If the Rams win, the best the Packers can do is 7th seed. Now, considering the Chicago Bears have spent forever mocking us and our team, I've seen so many going, oh, we're the Lions of the NFL this year. We're going to go to Lambeau. We're a good ascending team. We're going to go and beat them. They sure do want to be us for a team that hate us so much. But can Justin Fields and his big mouth go up there and do what we did last year and upset them?
Yes. The team wants to play for Eberflus. And I think this is a chance for Field to really stake his claim to stop them drafting a guy. Like, imagine if you come, I can say they won't be like us. It won't be as convincing as it was for us at the end of last year. But I can see them upsetting the Packers. The Lambeau Field home advantage doesn't exist anymore. We shattered that, and it's not a thing anymore. The Bears don't have anything to pay for, so they won't care. They'll put their bodies on the line. They'll make the plays. The Packers, they looked good against the Vikings, but as we've seen, that's against the Vikings. They've got weaknesses. You can beat them. It'll just come down to who wants it more. And I can see the Bears wanting it more. And then the Packers have to sit at home for another year, twiddling their thumbs, trying to work out what to do to fix this or this situation. And they still won't make any big free agent signings because they forget that free agency actually exists.
As much as I hate the Packers and the thought of them 2 years in a row losing an opportunity in the playoffs at home when it's in their destiny, I hate the Bears more. And I want the Packers to absolutely stuff the Bears again. So that one, they have to make a big decision over Justin Fields because the worst thing they could do is let him go. So I want Fields to look bad. I want them to beat the Bears. And I want them to have this argument all off season to negate for the fact they're so happy about getting the #1 pick. So please let it be the Packers with that one. Chiefs versus Chargers, Blaine Gabbert versus Eastern Stick. Nuff said. Just give me one for this and we'll move on.
Chiefs, like it doesn't matter. It could be again, it could be me at quarterback for them. They'll probably still win. Like Andy Reid is an offensive genius, and the Chargers are they're a turd right now. They're really making it less and less likely that Ben's going to go there every day because they just don't look good right now.
No, yeah, it's going to be the Chiefs. Chiefs are the 3rd seed in the AFC, by the way. That's locked up. They can't go up or down, so literally nothing to play for. And the Chargers probably going to make a run on Ben Johnson soon. The 8-8 Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 7-9. Jarrett Stidham versus Aiden O'Connell as these wonderful Week 18 quarterback battles keep coming. Maybe just an answer again, because obviously Antonio Pierce is fighting for his job as a permanent head coach there. Actually wanting to, so I want the Raiders to win this, so he gets it. And the Broncos, for the way they've treated Russ, are trash. Who do you feel winning this one?
Raiders. I can see like they should have stuck with Rich. I can't pronounce his surname, but the guy they had is Bisaccia. I should know this because I think he's still Green Bay's special teams coordinator. So I really should know this. They should have stuck with him when it first time. Let's hope Pierce can keep the job because he's really steadied that ship. They're not a great team, but I think AOC is a better quarterback than Stidham. They're both very similar. Again, it just come down to who's better quarterbacks. And again, it might be me a bit homerism, the fact I really liked AOC in this past draft class, but I think he's the better quarterback. So I can see, again, probably be a close game.
Yeah.
I can see the Raiders winning it.
Yeah, me too. The 11-5 Philadelphia Eagles at the 5-11 New York Giants. So it's simple for Philly. They need to beat the Giants and hope the Cowboys lose to secure the 2nd seed and the NFC East title. They are in the playoffs regardless of result. For the Giants, their season again was over long ago. They're going to be up under center with Tyrod Taylor, but the Eagles have looked rough recently. Can the Giants spring an upset on the Eagles, or will they get back to winning ways?
I think it'll be close again, but I think Philly just about edge it. They've got something to fight for. Those players will want to come out and play their hardest to get that 2nd seed and win the title. Giants will probably want to upset them. Barkley might have a career game just out of pure spite, but Eagles have still got too much talent they'll edge it with that.
I feel like not being in the toxicity of Philadelphia will help as well. Yeah. Like, I think that'll help the team be able to go and win. So I think they'll win, but I think it'll be very close. The one that everybody's talking about in Detroit, the 9-7 LA Rams at the San Francisco 49ers, who are 12-4. And everyone's talking about it because we may get to see RX again next week. Matthew Stafford, we're not going to see him on the field this week. The Rams have secured their playoff spot. They're resting everybody. Even though the seeding is still at play, they don't care. A win and they show up 6th. If they lose and Green Bay win, it'll be 7th. But apparently they're not really bothered about that. Carson Wentz is going to be starting at quarterback. I mean, we're going in a time warp here. 49ers wrapped up the NFC West and the 1 seed. They're sitting Brock Purdy. Sam Darnold is going to start. Who would have thought you'd have seen Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold this year? But who's going to win the dead rubber in the NFC West in terms of this?
49ers again. It's one of these where just the coaching will win out. Both teams sitting people. So it just come down to coaching and whoever wants him on could just see the 49ers. It's at home for the 49ers. And Darnold, yeah, he's not the best quarterback in the world, but we saw last year, start of last season, when he's put in the right scheme and he's in the right frame of mind, he can play absolutely well. This is his chance to sort of stake his claim to be one of those Minshew level guys who, if a team needs a starter for a year, he could come in and be that, but it's not much more than that. So I can see him doing it. Yeah.
Like kind of like Minshew did, play for a job,
Yeah,
get your center starting
exactly.
job. Yeah, I want it to be the 49ers because I want the Packers to come to Detroit for the playoffs. We crushed them last year. We will crush them and make them feel even worse this year in the playoffs. We denied them of the playoffs last year, kicked them out the playoffs this year. Let them know that we're dad now. That is what I want to happen there. Cowboys 11-5 at Washington Commanders 4-12. Dallas win, they get the second seed in the NFC East, but they can't afford to slip up. They'll still be in the playoffs if they lose, but they may well lose the East. Washington are a train wreck, an absolute train wreck. They've got the number 2 pick in the draft. They probably are not going to want to lose that. Sam Howell is starting again, but they've just left him out there to die this year. I've got no faith there's going to be an upset here at all. I think this is going to get pretty nasty. I've got a Cowboys win here all the way, but can Rivera have one final hurrah before he's inevitably kicked out of Washington?
You know that Scary Terry massive game you've been asking for all year in fantasy?
No, 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 no. Don't you
Yes.
dare wish that on me.
He sees what CeeDee Lamb did last week and he does it this week. So the Cowboys, no, it probably won't happen. It might happen, but the Commanders still lose. They still lose. They need to reset. The best thing that can happen, well, the best but / worst thing that can happen to them, the offense looks consistent and like good enough that Eric Bieniemy finally gets a head coaching job, and we can that happens. That's the best thing that can happen to them. Ron goes and does something, becomes like an advisor somewhere, like how we have John Fox, how the Panthers have Jim Caldwell. He can go do that. The enemy gets the job, reset at the sort of coaching level. The Cowboys, they'll have their eye on Philadelphia, but they know they just need to handle business in front of them, so they'll just go out and do that. We saw last week there is ways to beat them. Should have beat them, but I doubt they'll need to give any bribes to any refs this week. They could just handle business themselves.
Oh, and speaking of, Brad Allen got Saturday Night Football. I should have mentioned that maybe in there, but he's reffing Saturday Night Football again after getting punished. Scumbag. Last game, and the biggest of them all, the 10-6 Buffalo Bills traveling to the 11-5 Miami Dolphins, who are in free fall. The biggest game of the lot. The winner gets the AFC East and the second seed along with it. Miami are in the playoffs regardless. Anything but a defeat gets them the AFC East title. Every story is still open for the Bills. If they win, they get the 2 seed in the AFC East title. If they lose, they could miss the playoffs entirely. They need one of the Steelers or Jaguars to lose. And if one of those 2 teams loses, they're in. And with this being the last game of the weekend, they might have already qualified for the playoffs before this game even happens. But if both those teams win, then you've got the possibility that lose and they're out, win, and they're the second seed, which is absolutely crazy. But this is Josh Allen versus Tua. 2 of the most explosive offenses going. Buffalo are in a red-hot streak of form at the minute, and the Dolphins, I mean, good Lord, what Baltimore did to them last week should have been an offense. It was that bad, but it's at Miami. This is a proper playoff deciding game, this one, Ash. But who is going to be king of the AFC East and get that second seed?
I think Miami wins a game that absolutely burns the house down, like a child playing with a lighter in a certain player's bedroom yesterday. But yeah, it's going to be close. I think the Bills will be playing this knowing they're into the playoffs, so they have a bit of weight off their shoulders, and it sort of loses them that sort of bit of motivation they might have had. It just gives Miami the edge. Like they've got like some of their players might be taking a bit easy because they'll know they've probably got the East sewn up, but for the most part, it's going to be a damn good game to watch. Like I'm just sad for the poor Seahawks and Cardinals fans who are listening, waiting for us to break their game down because you totally missed out on the document. You totally missed out.
Oh, did I actually?
Yeah, I've had it. Yeah, that's why you said this is the last game. I'm like, no, it's not. We haven't mentioned Seahawks versus Cardinals yet.
Oh God, I am so sorry, Seahawks fans who are listening to this, but I hate the Seahawks. So who the hell cares? But you are completely right. So you're going. Who did you have for Miami and Buffalo? Sorry,
Miami.
I got Miami as well, but I want the Steelers and the Jags to. I want this to be an all or nothing because that is going to ramp up so much pressure on that game. It could be one of the best games of the lot. But you are right. The Seattle Seahawks, who I believe 8-8 right now, and the Cardinals, who are 4-12. I'm doing this without notes because I've not done it. But
No, it's there.
Cardinals.
You just skipped it completely over the document. You went from the Titans game right down to the Bears and Packers game. It's
Oh,
right
did I
there.
actually did I
Yeah,
actually put it in there? Oh, I
yeah. You just
did.
skipped over it.
The
That's why I've had it highlighted for the past 10 minutes.
Oh, right, you did. Yeah. Sorry, that is an absolute bad one of mine. Arizona playing for pride, but coming off a huge win against the Eagles, which infuriated me even more because of the Dallas result. They've got no interest in what their draft pick's going to be. Kyler Murray's obviously playing for his future, and the team are playing for him. The Seahawks, I absolutely hate. They need to better the result of the Green Bay Packers to make the playoffs. So obviously, if the Packers lose, they're out. Seahawks are in. If both win, Seahawks are still out. And quite frankly, I hate Pete Carroll. I don't want them in there. Seattle are on the road. It's a division game. So can Arizona do one more upset this year? Or is Pete Carroll the ultimate scumbag who can always wheedle his way in to situations when he shouldn't? Is he going to do it one last time and really annoy us?
I don't think so. I think Gino's still banged up a bit, and Kyle, as you say, is playing for playing for his place. I think they win the game, and then, but at the same time, it's a long-term bad thing for them because it plays them out of getting one of those really good, like sort of top-tier tackles. Like Olotimi is not going to be a Cardinal, unfortunately. I think they're going to have to settle for like the tier 2 of tackles to protect Kyler. But and it's going to make me eat my words because I remember in the offseason laughing at Jonathan Gannon when he became the head coach for Arizona. And it's kind of proven me wrong in the past few weeks. I still think he's a poor man's like Walmart version of Dan Campbell with some of the speeches he does. Like he's the most monotone motherfucker ever, but at least he can seemingly motivate a team to play, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
I've always been a Kyler Murray stan, so I like that he's sort of fighting back because I still think he's a good NFL quarterback. I do. I just think he's been in a bit of a rotten situation. The off-field stuff hasn't really helped with Card and everything, but he's
Yeah.
playing hard at the moment, and we're seeing the best version of Kyler Murray right now. So I say Cardinals upset the Seahawks, and the Seahawks season is done, and it would be great because in my Chesterfield WhatsApp there is a Seahawks fan in there, and he drives me nuts, and I'm just like. I'm gonna rub that so far in his face because when they beat us this year, he gave me a lot of jip because I was like giving it large a little bit and they beat us. So that will be vengeance for me. So that is everything with the NFL and the docket on week 18 there. We'll take your questions now, any others before we get on out of here for the day. Mike, I've just noticed there saying prayers for Matt and speedy recovery. Who's doing the week's play-by-play? Matt should be healthy for that at this point. We've got 3 days to go. If he's still ailing and feeling ill, then like I'll drop in and help Ash and let him do his thing and whatnot. I will always stand by and help if need be, but Matt should be better for then. He's at home playing Football Manager and skiving off work. So oh shit,
Good
no wait, he's got a
hunting.
colleague who watches this, doesn't he? He's not skiving off work at all. No, he's not. He is genuinely ill.
Yeah,
Like we
he
talked to him
really
just
is. Yeah.
before the pod, and he's not well. But hopefully he'll be good for Sunday. But we will sort something. You will get your play-by-play from us one way or the other. Right, Mike did ask a few questions earlier. I know you've been waiting very patiently, so let me get to them. It's bottom of this docket. I've had so many notes on here. Said for later, playoff round 1 against the LA Rams, added incentive for Goff and St. Brown as they were Pro Bowl stubs for Stafford and Nakua. I mean, this is going, if it is the Rams, Ash, I mean, this game's going to have so many storylines in there. Brad Holmes, for one,
Yeah.
Sean McVay and Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions. Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown in the Pro Bowl, the trade, all this. This is if the NFL, going to say this. If the NFL wrote scripts, this is the script they'd write, which knowing full well, jokingly, that could actually be true, but it would be the game that had the most narratives of any game in the playoffs, like at all.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's all. To answer the question for Goff, I don't think he gives two shits, to be honest. But Amon Ra, you know, he's like any little motivation, any little snub is motivation to him. So I can see it, but at the same time, yeah, just narratives. Either way, I think, well, as you said, put it earlier, either we're facing our ex with Stafford and
Right.
obviously all those connections, or we're facing the Packers and hopefully putting another beating down on them. Either way, we've got some really good like narratives going. Obviously, the NFL probably do want to beat the Rams because I think if the Rams win the and Dallas lose, so they don't get the NFC East, it basically sets it up for Rams this week. Next week, if we win, it'll be Dallas, which will be interesting to actually no, interesting to say at least. I was just doing the maths in my head. Yeah, it will be that, and then potentially Philadelphia or 49ers in the championship game.
I was about to say, if it's the 49ers, was the 49ers not Dan Campbell's first ever game with us? Am I remembering rightly?
Yes,
His
yeah,
first
yes, it was, and
Dan
that was
Campbell's.
That was the Tyrell Williams concussion game, as I keep remembering. It's
Yeah.
the only thing I
So
possibly remember from that game.
you could have the Rams narrative, you could have the Cowboys narrative, and then back to where it all began 3 years ago when we had that very close loss to the 49ers.
And then to add another layer onto it, Super Bowl.
The Browns.
No, Miami.
Oh, the Ravens. Oh
Miami.
yeah, Miami.
Because
yeah.
where was Dan Campbell interim head coach? Where was Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and the coaching staff for? The narratives. If we've just hacked the NFL scriptwriters thing, and that's what we're getting, a Dolphins Lions Super Bowl. Number one, what a fucking good Super Bowl for us to watch. Like two really good offenses and two mediocre defenses. That'll be fun to watch. I'm there for that. Actually, give me Lions Dolphins Super Bowl.
I do like Mike McDaniel as well. Like he is a genuinely likable fellow. So I would absolutely that. In terms of Goff, though, just quickly going back to Goff and the Rams, I'm a very passionate guy. I would love it if we beat the Rams and Jared Goff ran across the field, went up into Sean McVay's face, and just gave him the finger in his face like that, and just be like, "Hey!" I would live for that. I would get that I would get that photographed and put it on a T-shirt and wear it for the rest of my days. I would want Goff to go and rub it in McVay's face if he beats. I know he won't because he's far too humble, but that would be my ultimate thing. I would just want to get in his face and give him the goods. Say, but anywho, that is that there. He had a couple of other questions as well. This is a draft related question. Would you draft a cornerback and acquire another one in free agency? So would you double dip in the cornerback market this year? You personally, not what Brad would do, because that's an entirely different thing, but would you take a pick up both for corner this year?
I'm drafting. I'm not picking up in free agency. I just keep kind of trying to point out this free agency class of corners is not that great at all. Like trying to think. Spot track. You look at spot track. Best one's probably Jerry, to be honest, and that says a lot. So I'm definitely drafting. God, there is so many good corners in this class that I'm looking at. I know there's a couple that have been mentioned in the chat, but even today, the Alabama outside duo have both declared. People
the Missouri duo are both first rounders.
Exactly. You've got I should remember it.
Well, we Kalen King is in there. Kool-Aid McKinstry is in there, and also who Mike asked us about was Quinion Mitchell, who's the Toledo cornerback. He's getting the first round looks. I asked us specifically about him, but he's insanely talented. But again,
yes.
Group of 5 level, but when you're a group of 5 player getting first round looks, then you've got something special about you. But we'll do more on corners going forward. But certainly, I would draft one. I'm with you. I would probably use. Depends where we're picking, but I would maybe use the first round pick on one. Although I'd be quite happy going day 2 with one as well, because there's a lot of talented guys, but not at the top 10 level. But this corner class is stacked. Just because it's not right at the elite level at the top doesn't mean it's not stacked. So free agency, I'm with Ash. It's not a very good class at the moment. Besides, we've got Sutton, we've got Gardner Johnson who can do a bit there as well. Who knows what's going to happen with Mosley? Will he take another with us? I'd not be averse to keep him
Exactly.
Mosley around, giving him a lesser deal to prove it. And then you've got your vets, and you want young guys to build around there. So absolutely, I would do that. Any other questions? Just get them in, because I think that's later. So, Mike had another one here. Question for later. I heard an interesting fact about our game last week that few talk about. Cowboys were favored by 5.5, and if the game would have gone to overtime and Dallas scores a touchdown, they would have not paid out. But MCD cost them in the NFL $500 million. I mean, yeah, I don't know with betting narratives with the NFL. Who knows with these? It's I'm not sure. I don't know. I think they've just got a script they write, and it might be to do with money, but with our case, I don't think so. Ash, you've just put in a new home for Isaiah Buggs there.
Yep, he's just signed with the Chiefs practice squad. So good. I'm not opposed to that. Let him ring chase in a way. And I think off the top of my head, they do need a bit of help up front. Obviously, they've got Carl Loftus and that in the edge room, but their defensive tackle room isn't the best. So I'm there for that. But yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree on both counts with what you just said. Obviously, with the Bugs thing, and then what we were just discussing. It's just I don't pay too much to gamble. Stuff to gamble in. I remember way back when I was a fresh at university, so we're talking, God, like 7 years ago. I was a bit of a gambler. Not anymore. There's only so many times you can be by Aston Villa playing in the championship before you give up on betting on any other sports other than the occasional £5 flutter on the British Grand National. So I try not to pay attention to gambling, but I can see it. There's too much evidence for them effing up that it would make it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some form of element of trying to save Vegas some that money, because Vegas always seems to know stuff that we don't. It always seems to play into the house always wins a bit too often for my liking.
There's a lot of insiders in the NFL, so information freely goes out. But Campbell wouldn't follow that script. Campbell would have just been. Campbell went aggressive for the win, and I fully want. I know we didn't mention that, but I back him 100% of the way. Like I said, you can lose in overtime without touching the ball. So Dan Campbell is not the type who does that. He wants the ball in his hands, and he wants an opportunity to win. And whether it's 4th and 2 or 4th and 22 at the end of the game, I would fully expect him to go 4th and 22 and dial some weird shit to win it, because that's just who he is, and that's why I love him like that. Anything else you want to ask us, let us know, because I need to give Matt a message to let him know it's coming and stop this eventually. Mike goes, when can teams talk with teams for head coach positions during the playoffs? Now, the rules have changed here, haven't they?
Yeah.
So you used to not be able to tap guys up until their team was out completely. Like, you had to wait until the team was out completely, didn't you? But I think now you've got to wait until the season's over. Am I right? Or is it the other way? You can do it from now. I know the rules changed.
Divisional round, so you have to wait now for the divisional until the divisional round at the earlier. So you can still do in-person interviews with coaching candidates who are not employed by another team, as well as in-house candidates. Let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a team who's made the playoffs that can. Let's say, I don't know, Philly make the playoffs, but the ownership isn't happy with what Sirianni's done. They fire him. They can still interview internally, which brings up the horrible idea of Matt Patricia as Philadelphia Eagles head coach.
Oh, that's hilarious. I would wish that on Philly.
But yeah, for anyone that are in the playoffs, you have to wait until at least the divisional round to do that.
So that, to answer your question, is in 2 weeks' time then, because wild card next week, divisional after that. So they're going to have to wait 2 weeks till they're able to go after it. So for us, if we make the divisional game, no one can talk to Ben or Aaron until then. So we've got another 2 weeks before they can be tapped up. But thanks for double checking that one for me there, Ash. Don't think we have a lot else to go through. Let me check YouTube. Maybe I have missed something because I've not been in there a lot. Carlton goes, 2 roster spots open for CGJ and Aleem. Who are you dropping for Houston for the playoffs? I mean, legitimate question there. If they got the spots open, who do you drop next week? Assuming, the 2 guys are back this week, who do you drop next week? for Houston?
Antoine Green, which pains me, but admittedly, 7th-round pick, hasn't really had a chance to probably try and get him on a futures contract, but we've got enough receivers. Maybe Gilly, but again, I'm scared about that cornerback position. He could get his chance. So for me, it's Antoine Green, unfortunately. He's the one that bites the proverbial bullet to bring back Houston for the playoffs.
Yeah, it's Green or Gilmore for me as well. The guys who are just not seeing time like at all. Like the vets who aren't seeing time, I think they'll stick with till the season's done. Because you can get Gilmore and Green and that through to the practice squad as well. So odds are you can get them through at that point. Let me just message Matt, say we are just about there. Again, anything you want to ask quickly before I go? That is it. Just to let you know about future shows whilst we do that. So our next show will be Sunday. So it will be the live reaction show for the Minnesota Vikings at Detroit Lions with brand new NFL Red Zone with Ash Soden, who will be guiding you through the playoff implications and all the added games. So do come and check that one out. And obviously next week on the Monday, probably we will be back with the Vikings review show. And then me and Ryan will be back on the Wednesday looking through the Hula Bowl lineup on the College Football Podcast, starting to go in depth with lines, with guys in the draft process. And again, with all that, if there's players you want us to look at, if there's position groups you want to know about guys with, just let us know. We'll do a segment for you on the show there. And then Thursday, we'll get to do our first ever playoff preview show. Like, that is, I'm just so looking forward to that. 3 years of doing this pod, nearly 3.5 years. We'll get to do our first playoff preview show. How great's that going to be, Ash? We got a lot to look forward to.
Exactly, yeah. It's gonna be a mad one. Like, and for one, I'm half hoping it is the Rams we do as well, because then I actually get to do a preview of a team we actually haven't done before. So I get to splurge you more stats. Like I will be finishing off my preview to go up on Saturday, but it's a different one because obviously, as we said, played the Vikings a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be a shorter article, which is probably a blessing for you all because you probably hate my 10-minute long stat-filled essays. But it'd be nice to sort of look at a team, hopefully, that we haven't played before, but as we said, got a lot of connections to. Let's see how Stafford's doing this year, see if he's deserved the Pro Bowl over Goff. And then obviously look ahead to maybe those games going on and maybe who we could be facing if and when we do win in the wild card.
And I get to go back and clip all those episodes from years ago of me talking about Puka. You know what? That would be the ultimate slap in the face, that would. I had him in every single mock draft I had in the Lions season, like all last year. If he came in and scored the winning touchdown on us in the playoffs, that would be like the ultimate, oh shit, what's he just done? I wouldn't know whether to cheer or not because I do have a big investment in him. He's a special player. You could tell he was going to be a special player, and I love him to death. It's just not at the Lions' expense, please, pretty please. Colton, I believe it was, asked us, and I think we discussed this with Matt beforehand when we were discussing the Saints' monetary problems. But Marshawn Lattimore, would you trade for him as our cornerback one? Because Brad likes to trade for senior corners. Saints obviously links with Dan, etc. I believe he was there when Dan was, but they're two close-knit organizations. Would you trade for Marshawn Lattimore?
Despite the links you said, Dan was there when he was. Aaron Glenn was his position coach when he came into the league, and he was one of the ones that helped Aaron Glenn turn it around from this 32nd best passing defense like the 5th. No, you look at those cap hits. Next year is quite small. Then you go into $30 million cap hit. When at that point, we're probably going to be paying Saul and Amon-Ra will be up as well. Don't think we can really afford to take on that much for someone who Lattimore sometimes, if he's going up against a big name receiver, usually turns it on. His battles with Mike Evans are usually fun to watch. But in the games where he might be going up against, I don't know, I'm trying to think, let's say Dontavius Wicks continues and he's still the Packers' number one receiver, you can pretty much guarantee Lattimore's going to give up 10 receptions for 180 yards against him. The level of play, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but for the cap hit and that, it's not for me. I'm looking to the draft for our cornerback one because that gives you 5. Let's say we get him in the first round. That's 5 years of cheap contract control on someone who could be a very damn good corner for you. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I guess you could sort of again have to balance it is can you bring Mosley back and what would Mosley give you compared to what Lattimore does for the cost hit? If you can
Yeah,
get Mosley
exactly.
fully fit for next year and playing remotely like he was before, I do think you get better value for a near whilst you develop your cornerback one from the draft and you do it
Exactly.
that way. That would be the direction I'd like to do it. Get Mosley back and then develop the guy behind him and get ready. Because then we don't have to push the cornerback from the draft straight in like we did with Jeff. You can build them in if you want. It's like I say, there's a dearth of starting cornerback ones right away. There's no Patrick Surtain here, but there's so many studs who can be developed and done right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Latimore's just a bit too much there for me. Although his first year is really cheap, but I won't complain either way. Brent goes January 7th, 2024. I think I deserve a birthday. But is it your birthday, Brent? If it is, then happy birthday to you. And, you know, look forward to a great year. Hopefully with Army losing to Air Force later on in the year as vengeance for last. I carry grudges. I carry grudges. And I will carry that one for a long time. You've ruined the Air Force Falcons this year. Not Brent personally, but the Army Black Knights did. But yeah, I think we're about there. So I'm waiting for Matt to appear now. So we're just going to sit here and chat for a bit until he does. And then,
I think he's here.
oh, is he here? Is he here? Bless him. Give all your shout outs for Matt here. He's feeling unwell. So he'll take all that on board there. So told you about all the new shows coming up. You know where to find us. Roar of the Lions UK, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. He's on his way, so he's not here yet. So I can answer one more question from Big Aries. He says, Lions look for a veteran guard or draft. My only answer to that, all off season, all off season will be Christian Haynes. That will be my only answer. Christian Haynes. He's the guy. UConn right guard. Go check him out.
Yeah. Dream Roll the Lines day 2 in the draft. Christian Haynes and Johnny Wilson.
There you go. You got it. Christian Haynes is an absolute stud right guard, and he's kicked ass for UConn for years now. That will be my answer. No veterans getting there.
Well, I'll bring Graham back. Graham back.
I'll bring Graham back. Yeah, absolutely.
He's good as a backup right guard and center. But yeah, I'm not looking for a veteran starter. Christian Haynes. Hell, if you can guarantee he'll at least be fit by about the mid to end of the next season, Zach Zinter, the Michigan guard, who obviously had a horrific leg break, like another certain favorite one of my players. There is some guards in this draft. Again, probably previewing in a couple, probably a month or so's time, when we do the position reviews, probably we'll be looking at guards, I believe, or at least offensive line, because we'll need a swing tackle as well. Yeah.
We'll go through them all, but yeah. I have a favorite player every year, and Christian Haynes is the truth. That's all you need for a guard this season. I'll be dropping the tape review on him very, very soon. He's going to be one of the first players I go after. Mike Marine goes, I'm draft hungry. 4 picks in the top 100. Yeah, we've got a great team full of young studs, and we have another 4 picks in the top 100 this year. Screw the Bears and their number 1 pick. Our future's bright. So
it's this is according to Tankathon. It's 27, 58, 74, 92. Then a big jump to 160, 204, 244. And right now, again, this is Tankathon based on their stuff. It's 27. It's Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback out of Georgia. Fair.
Yeah.
Then 58, Brandon Dorius, the defensive lineman out of Oregon. I'll go more for you because I haven't watched that much of Oregon this show, unfortunately. 74, this is someone you definitely will know a bit about because it's Penn State. Addison Isaac, the edge out of Penn State.
Oh, yeah.
The guy opposite Chop.
Yeah.
And then 92, all I have to say is if it's this pick in 92, Ryan McCluskey will be such a happy man.
Oh, hang on. It's screwballs. Is it Tyler Nubin?
No.
Oh no, go on then.
Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver out of Florida.
Oh yeah. Love that. It's gonna be great. Four great picks in there. So I'm draft hungry as well. We'll be there for the draft, so you'll get to come and see how draft hungry we are. Matt is with us now, so unless there is anything else, Margot's like the pun today, guys. Thank you. It's not a dad joke, is it? Love this.
Exactly. Puns are
Love
great.
this. Love
Puns are
this.
great.
Mike goes, what about BB? BB's good. Like, I wouldn't be disappointed
Cooper
with
Beaver's good.
BB.
Yeah, I think he's going to go. It might be a hot take. I think he's going. Actually, he'll be in play for our first round pick.
Yeah.
He's in that range. Him and Graham Barton, the tackle guard combo out of Duke.
Yeah, yeah. Cooper Beebe's good, but Christian Haynes is better, and I'm going to show you that he's better. So yeah, yeah. You know where to find us: Roared Lions UK, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok now with Ash, all that good stuff. Come find us, come support us. We appreciate all of you who have joined with us this evening. Thank you for sticking with me while Matt's been ill, and I'm not as well organized and that as he is, but hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Thank you, Ash, for joining me as always. It's been great. Let's look forward to the weekend. Lions at Vikings, and to all you Michigan fans going to the Natty, good luck to you. I love Michael Penix in Washington, so sorry, I can't say go win it, but if you do, wish you all the best with it. So we shall see you again very soon. Just remains me to say thank you, Ash, and one pride.
Ron Pride and fuck Brad Allen.